Hello and welcome back to my channel, Deku Fanfic. Join us as we delve into the realms of fanfiction and fantasy, bringing you the best stories and discussions. Today, we're kicking off the first part of our series, What If Deku Was Songwriter? If you enjoy this video, please give it a like and subscribe for more content in the future. The author of this story is BlueLiv22 from fanfiction.net. All the relevant links are in the description. Feel free to say hello to the author on their profile. Now, let's dive into the fanfic. It was getting late in the UA dormitories. 10 o'clock had come and passed a little while ago, and most of the students on the staging or dance team for the upcoming cultural festival had long since retired for bed. Class started bright and early, after all, which meant those still arguing in the common room were bound to regret how little sleep they were going to get in the morning. "I'm not playing if you choose that crappy music," Bakudeku growled as he rejected yet another choice of gyros. "You need me to play percussion, don't you? Choose something else." The band team had been trying to appeal to the explosive blonde for the past hour or so. Kirishima, Zero, and Mina stayed if only to talk their friend into just going with the type of music appropriate for the festival, but he wasn't having it. Todoroki, Uraraka, Ida, Tsuyu, and Izuku, who stuck around in order to make sure they didn't get loud enough to wake their classmates, groaned at his stubbornness. Finally reaching her wit's end, Gyro closed her laptop with a frustrated exhale. "Bakugo, I really don't know how to reason with you. We need to pick some songs that are appropriate for visiting families while also matching the theme of the event. Unless you have some original songs and music sheets for us to learn, we have to go with songs already available online for free. We aren't going to blow the other classes away by being some shitty cover band. Dude, you can't expect her to be able to just write up some songs from scratch." Kaminari scolded as Izuku slowly got up and left the room. The green-haired boy held up a finger signaling to them that he'd be back in a moment. It takes a lot of work to make a song. There's the melody itself, and the different instrumental parts, writing the lyrics, messing with layers, and so much more. Even if she did have some ideas in mind, there would be the case of having to transpose parts for all of our instruments. "I'm pretty good at that," Gyro admitted, "but there's not enough time for me to write some songs now. Original pieces take time." Bakugo opened his mouth to complain from where he sat on one of the couches when his attention shifted elsewhere. Izuku had just walked in holding his own laptop at his side, a shy look in his eyes as he settled back down on the couch his friends were on. "What have you got there, Midori?" Mina asked, her head tilted in confusion. "Some song suggestions." Zero shook his head. "It's nice you're trying to help, but Bakugo here apparently only wants to play original music. I doubt he'd listen to any of your suggestions anyway. You two don't really get along." Izuku met Bakugo's eyes at the statement, a small smile appearing on the brunette's face. Ever since their fight a while back, they had been more or less getting along. They helped each other with schoolwork, pushed each other when they trained, and listened to each other's suggestions for improvement. In the eyes of others, it might seem like they had finally learned to tolerate one another, but to Izuku he was sure they were friends. The development made him happier than he'd ever admit. "I, actually do some songwriting from time to time," Izuku stated, much to the shock of his classmates. "No way," Uraraka gushed. Tsuyu tilted her head. "You've never mentioned that before, Ribbit. I honestly never pegged you for the songwriting type." Izuku waved them off sheepishly. "It's not a big deal. It's really just a hobby. I'm not even that good. I had a lot of hobbies as a kid, and music always called to me, so I tried my hand at it when inspiration struck. I downloaded a free music program on the internet that allowed me to create virtual instrumentals a while back. Another form of software allowed me to add other sounds, mix layers, and even place lyrical text along the track. I could add in my own singing too, but I could never work up the courage to record myself. My voice isn't exactly the best for singing." Gyro regarded him thoughtfully, still surprised at her classmate's lesser-known hobby. "What genre of music do you write?" "All sorts. Ideas just pop into my head and I try to create them as best I can. The music I thought I could share with you is more of a theme though, not a genre. He rubbed the back of his neck awkwardly, "songs I wrote about heroes. Well, heroism, I guess. Some of them are from middle school and others I did more recently, especially since coming to UA. So they'll need work, I'm sure." The hearing hero gestured for Izuku to join her where she sat with Yaoyorozu and Kaminari. The latter moved over so he could sit between the guitarists, and Izuku thanked him for making room. Once he was sitting beside Gyro and pulling up the folder labeled Hero Tracks, her eyes widened in realization that he'd written a lot more than he let on. Why hadn't he mentioned this before? "Do you want me to just go through them one by one? There are only 6, so doing so would give you a good idea if you want to use any of them. Of course, if need be, I can work on them to make them longer since they're all pretty short. A few of them have extra lines and choruses that I just never had the motivation to add, but I'm sure I could do it in a couple of hours if you end up wanting to use those songs." Mina threw her hands into the air impatiently. "Stop rambling and just pick something already. The suspense is killing me." Takoyami sighed. "Patience is a virtue, Ashido. Whatever." With a light blush, Izuku clicked on one of his songs, the music that played catching everyone off guard with how well composed it was. He could easily be a songwriter or artist if he desired. "Hey, Deku, the music is great, but how are we supposed to know what the song sounds like without the lyrics?" Uraraka asked after roughly 30 seconds. "I never recorded the words. Why don't you just sing them for us now?" You don't have to record anything, ribbit. Singing along right now should be enough to give us a general idea how they're supposed to sound. Izuku shook his head nervously. I'm not really a singer, Tsu-chan. I'll just end up embarrassing myself. Dude, you can't be any worse than me. Kirishima cut in. None of us will judge you, Todoroki added supportively. Well, maybe Bakugo, but if he does he will answer to me. Was that a threat, half in half bastard? Before Bakugo could launch himself of the couch and attack Todoroki, Izuku gave in if only to get everyone closer to returning to bed. I guess I can sing, he relented shyly. Try not to judge the song too harshly if my voice messes it up though. Keep in mind Gyro's voice would be singing if you wanted to use the songs, not mine. His classmate stopped any conversation as Izuku paused the song before messing around on his laptop once more. A few seconds later he was sitting up straight, taking a few deep breaths, and mentally preparing himself. Just as he was about to restart the song, his eyes lit up in realization. I never told you guys the title to this one, did I? This one is That's Why I'm Not Alone. I wrote it a few weeks after coming to UA. It's more upbeat than some of the others. It seems like one of the best candidates for an opening song for the performance. Gyro's voice would be perfect for it too considering the style, a good complement to the instrumental. A moment later, he started the music. When he sung his voice was soft yet straining to sing a bit higher than he usually spoke. He began, hesitantly going up in pitch each time. Did a triumph. Didada, 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 whoa, didodo, whoa. The last sound was held longer than the others before it, meaning that once he dropped it he immediately went on to sing the next part. How come I am the only one to always face a hurricane? Back then I used to think it all so meaningless, was so alone. But everything began to change. We're getting closer day by day. Together we can take off and chase after all those fleeting dreams. Uraraka stage whispered to Ida, who of which was gaping in wonder at his friend with the rest of his classmates. Deku-kun sings pretty well, doesn't he? Do you hear how well he can modulate his voice? Without a word Todoroki pinched himself. I'm definitely not dreaming, he mumbled under his breath as he listened to his friend. You'll find the answers if you search the sky. But that's a lie, why can't it be that easy? But now's the time to prove that we're alive. Take a chance, you never know. Come on, let's go. Whoa. He stopped staring at the laptop like he had been, shy eyes gazing around at his friends' odd faces for a split second before dropping back down to the screen. Again we're crying, but trying to prove we can overcome it. I know that we'll rise above it each and every time. I'll reach for your hand. Yeah, my friend, you are not alone this time. So, make a vow in your heart, he repeated, to not give up. Didodo, whoa, gonna triumph. The music faded. With a shaky breath Izuku gave a small smile, hand going to his face to scratch his cheek. Was that okay? I know some of the longer held notes probably sounded terrible, and some of the parts I imagined to back up, accenting voice for emphasis, which I can't do alone. I had to skip a few lines that overlapped the mains ones too, sadly. I hope I didn't sound too bad though. His friends stared at him incredulously. Many of them opened their mouths to shower him with praise, but to everyone's horror Bakugo stood up abruptly. The movement caught everyone's attention, especially Izuku, who stared up at his childhood friend with mounting fear. Keikaku. He stuttered when the blonde all but pulled Kaminari from his spot beside Izuku. The next second he was plopping down where the guitarist had been, a fierce look on his face as he brought his fiery red eyes to forest green ones. Their close proximity also sent a wave of heat traveling up to Izuku's cheeks. He's so close. Why is he staring at me so intently? It's almost like that time he had me pinned down outside at the end of our fight that got us to tension. His hand isn't on my face, and he's barely touching me, but I still feel tingly. Ugh, pull yourself together, Deku. The awkward tension being created in the room built until Bakugo finally spoke, his voice uncharacteristically tame. It was strange to hear his gruff voice speaking so nonchalantly. It figures a nerd like you would be good at something like this. What other songs do you got, music nerd? Play one with challenging percussion if you have it. Despite his shock at Bakugo's request, Izuku recovered faster than the rest of the occupants of the room did. They were wondering where the heck the real Bakugo had gone. Oh, okay. I have a few like that, I think. Here, he said while clicking on another file. This is Heroes. He clears his voice and starts singing with the music as soon as it starts. Everything surrounding me leaving me with nothing left to say. Imagine it, grasping it, it feels so far away. A nice guitar riff played, which caused the three guitarists' attention to peak with interest. Whoa, the drum part Bakugo cared about played, and he nodded in mild satisfaction. Every night I wake up in a dream, and I can't get too close. I let it slip away. I can only hide from all the lights before I hear a voice that calls me to the day. Giving it my all as I am, wandering through the dark, could I find the answer and wake up new? Ida leaned down so he could whisper to Uraraka without interrupting their friend. These songs really speak to his character, do they not? People always equate music being the song of a soul. His words are the sounds of his feelings. What if he isn't comfortable sharing something so personal? I don't think he would be singing at all if he was really worried about that. We're his friends after all, practically family. He trusts us. Everything surrounding me leaving me with nothing left to say. Imagine it, grasping it, it feels so far away. Do I throw it all away if it means that I can cross the line? All aloud scream it out even if I'm alone. Day and night I'll win the fight, now I can go beyond. Even if I take the fall and lose it all, I'm my own hero. I know that I'll become something new. Izuku closed his eyes. I'll shed all my tears and drop all my fears. Even if I don't bloom, am I a hero to you? The song ended with a few strong notes, and he looked at Bakugo expectantly. So, the blonde was silent for a moment. Pretty decent for you, Deku. I could destroy that ending part easily though, so keep going. At the sort of compliment, Izuku felt himself relaxing slightly. If Bakugo thought his songs were at least mediocre, and he was the most critical person in the room to please, then who did he have to be nervous about disappointing? His anxiety steadily began to fade. Alright, Kaken. This next one has more guitar highlights, honestly, but there are a couple great drum and cymbal parts you might enjoy. As for the singing, this one is really better suited for a female voice, or at least a higher pitch than I can manage myself. If my voice sounds strange with the music, it's because I can't fluctuate my voice that much. What's the next song called? Yaoyorozu inquired. Izuku fought off a blush. It's called Because He Is My Hero. This is probably the most recent song I've written. Zero found himself laughing. Based on that title, it's easy to tell it's about your favorite hero. Could you be any more of an All Might fanboy? It's not about All Might, actually. He brushed off quickly before starting the song, not wanting to answer the question that was sure to be thrown at him if he allowed anyone else more time to speak. With a deep breath, he began tapping out the beat, the rest of his classmates listening to the adventurous instrumental that played. Giving up has never been your forte, cause you do it your way, and now I can see it's not easy, cause even you've been miserable. His childhood friend stiffened momentarily beside him, sending a wave of panic through the greenette. Of course, it would be obvious to the person if it was written about that it was about him. Izuku honestly hadn't made it subtle with the reference to giving up, but he still hoped nobody else guessed. Hard times, I'm sure there will be many. If you feel you just can't win, he continued with closed eyes so he couldn't look at the faces of his friends. Any emotion on their faces would be something he would analyze without thinking. He wasn't sure if he could deal with that while focusing on singing well. I will be there. Through the rain and fire, I just want to be with you. We have one chance at life, but you and me, I know we'll make it count. All that I knew was strife, but then you came around, now I can fly. His finger tapping increased. Hey, I pray, I shout to the heavens a prayer from deep within. I'm so glad you're finally here, now I'm free from all my fear. Hey, I pray, I shout to the heavens, let me say it once again. It just takes a look from you. He could feel red eyes boring into him even with his eyes closed, and I start believing too. We'll reach our finale. Oh, so go ahead, I'll follow. The instrumental passed with an excited murmur from Kaminari. All because you are my hero. It finished with another set of hard notes, and when it did, Uraraka was clapping. That song was so cute, Deku. I can't believe you never told us how insanely musically talented you are before now. Izuku winced. I'm really not that good. It's just a hobby anyway, that's why I never mentioned it. He turned to Gyro. Did you enjoy the guitar parts, by the way? I think between you, Kaminari, and Takoyami they could stand out really well with your singing. Gyro grinned. Dude, we need to hang out more. Your music is way more awesome than you're giving yourself credit for. You've got a musician's ear, you know that. Do you play anything? Nope, not unless you include this plastic harmonica I got as a kid but broke when I accidentally stepped on it one day, he said with a laugh. I enjoy composing the music and writing lyrics more than anything. Transposing is kind of fun too. Do you have any songs with more cool guitar parts? Kaminari asked from where he now sat on the floor. Izuku merely grinned, clicking on another file on his laptop while Bakugo watched his every move in silence. It was a bit discerning, but he decided to ignore it for now. He was already having a hard time focusing with the warmth radiating from the blonde from their legs touching. Get a hold of yourself, Izuku, he chided himself. This song is called The Day. I originally wrote it before coming to UA, while I was still in middle school, so some of the lyrics are a bit depressing, but I redid parts of the music and lyrics after the first few weeks here. Sometime after the USJ incident, I think, but before the sports festival. Keep in mind this song is faster than some of the others. I don't know if I'll be able to do it justice right now since it requires a lot of confidence and volume, and I'm still a bit nervous, but I'll try. With encouraging looks from his friends, Izuku braced himself to jump right into the song. You see the sun rise, a new day is upon you. You bite your nails and your knees start to tremble. The time is upon you to show them what you can do, and soon they will know that the day has come. The last note, which is meant to be sung long, loud, and with heart, is instead said lower and without as much kick behind it. Izuku simply couldn't bring himself to try to belt it out like he imagined. The guitar and drum parts here are sick. Kaminari shouted enthusiastically over the music. Gyro, we've got to play this one. The purple-haired girl rolled her eyes but nodded nonetheless. We'll see, Sparky. Late into the night I hear it storming. An end to the rain is what I pray and I'm hoping. Now I feel the pressure of the city. Oh, how it eats me whole. So many names and faces, sleepless nights spent in unknown places. And every day I walk straight into the great unknown. I'm not to blame. I'm gonna take a stand. You say my name. I'm telling you to reach out and finally take my hand. This time he did try to raise his voice a bit more as he was finally getting into the music, which took his friends off guard. Their reactions embarrassed him a little though, so he toned it down for the rest of the song, heat pooling in his face. Colliding fists, they're what's gonna make you. You grit your teeth or they're gonna break you. The time is upon you to show them what you can do. You're breaking the mold to show you're not them. Will we break through? I don't know. The bells are ringing. Come out and play now. The time is upon you to show them what you can do, and soon they will know that the day has come. Kirishima and Kaminari played air guitars as the music ended, banging their heads in a way so obnoxious it made Izuku burst into giggles when he finally paid attention to them. What are you guys even doing? He asked between laughing. Rocking out, duh. The redhead said as if it was the most obvious thing in the world. We've got to play this one, Kaminari repeated to Gyro. Well, as long as Bakugo is fine with it. I do love the guitar parts. The rest of the band team turned to the explosive blonde, who of which had an indiscernible expression on his face. After a few tense moments he crossed his arms and gave his classmates a determined look. As long as you let me go loose with the drum part, I'm in. I'll even play any other mediocre songs this nerd has that you all want to play. If you ask me to chill or something though, earphone girl, then all bets are off. You can play however you like as long as you play it well. Gyro agreed. The rest of the band team looked immensely relieved to finally be getting somewhere with the music. Do you have anything else, Midoriya? Izuku nodded happily, pride at his classmates' enjoyment of his music. I have 2 more songs that fit this theme, and they're actually ones that I can modify with some time to make longer if you enjoy them. I have notes for additions to the instrumental as well as different lyrics I can put in. It'll take me some time though, so I'll work on it right away if you guys enjoy them. They're actually my favorites. They are a bit personal, he said fondly, but I'm fine sharing them with everyone for the festival. I really want Eri-chan to have a good time. He finished, voice soft. Kirishima shed a few manly tears. I know she'll have the greatest time ever with all of us there, Midoriya. Don't you worry about that. Izuku smiled before pulling up another file on his computer. Thanks, Kirishima. Also, everyone, this next song has some clapping parts that I tried to add into the instrumental using a sound effect editor. It's not that great though, so if you want to join in clapping you can. It might be a great accent for the dance team, actually. Nina punched the air excitedly. Clapping sounds good to me. It gets the audience pumped and participating. Right. Anyway, this song is called Peace Sign. The original music and some of the lyrics were drafted after getting into UA. But after the sports festival was when I really took the time to make it what it is today. Some of the lyrics I have drafted to make it longer are ones that I came up a few weeks ago though. I've been kind of jotting down ideas whenever they come to mind. With enough being said, he readied himself to sing once more, his voice light and energetic as he dictated the words clearly and melodically. He'd sung this song to himself in private more times than he could count. LOL. An instrumental played that had his classmates eagerly awaiting the rest of the song. One day I set my eyes up to the sky and like a plane my dreams were passing by. And I awoke to tears that had filled my eyes. I need to spread my wings out and fly. A lot of these songs mention crying, Tsuyu murmured to Uraraka. I wonder if he had a rough childhood. Uraraka frowned. He mentioned not having any friends when he was younger and that Bakugo used to bully him. I imagine life for him was tough. The 2 girls wished they had known Izuku before coming to UA. I lie awake at night with these memories of feeling powerless and they're haunting me. A throwback to when he was quirkless. I'm always reaching out for this destiny, to make it happen, that's all on me. Cruel fate sets in motion, and no one else know why. Waiting for the day to come, when will it show up, claiming what's before my eyes. With every issue I gotta break through, or the moment might just pass. They all told me I can't, they were laughing, well look who's laughing now. Izuku held the note with a smile, his eyes slipping closed on instinct. Bakugo held back a scoff at the lyrics, although a tinge of guilt made itself known. Now that they'd settled their differences and became something akin to friends or rivals, he was starting to feel more when it came to Izuku. Random bouts of regret for his past actions had been driving him crazy. The warm feelings he got occasionally were even worse. Now I can feel the fire burning deep within me. I'll be the hero and no one can stop me. Loudly I will scream it from the top of my lungs, he sang, his body swaying lightly as he got more lost in the music. You've got those tired eyes from crying every moment. You cannot hide it, someone's gonna notice. I'll be your hero, no one's gonna hurt you again. Gonna raise my hand with a peace sign, he smiled, our story will last forever. The last few notes finished with some fanfare, and a few of his classmates clapped. Izuku opened his eyes, a bit afraid that he'd looked silly getting so invested in the song. You were really getting into that one, weren't you, dude? Kirishima grinned, voicing his worried thoughts exactly. I'm not making fun of you or anything. You actually sing really well. Maybe you should sing a few of the songs since they're yours anyway, and your voice did sound like a really nice fit for that one. I agree. Gyro jumped in before Izuku could shut the idea down immediately. Play your last song, and then the 2 of us are going to sit down and talk specifics about who is playing and singing what. You're going to at least join me in singing that one in particular. It suits you, Midoriya. Wait a minute. I can't sing in front of that many people. I'm supposed to be on the dance team anyway, right, Mina? Mina waved him off with a pink hand. You can dance with us to the other songs. We have plenty of other dancers and you'll probably only sing once or twice anyway, so we'll be fine. But, I bet Eri-chan would love to hear you sing, Kirishima taunted. Izuku cast the redhead a betrayed look. Not fair, Kirishima-kun. You know I can't argue with that. The hardening hero grinned cheekily before Mina's patience ran out once more. Enough talking and more singing. I want to hear the last song. Izuku sighed. There would be no debating this, it seemed. The last one is called Singing to the Sky. I started drafting it after the encounter with Stain, but wrote twice as many lyrics and fixed up the instrumental a few weeks after I got my hero license. Taking a deep breath and a second to get into the right mindset, he started the music with a tap of his finger. Cut straight through the illusion, he began immediately, and soar from the confusion to a blue sky revolution. Let it go and sing your heart out. He sang the line quickly since it was supposed to be sung by a second person, but he didn't want to leave it out. Don't you sweat the regret. Can't fade, won't break. Live for tomorrow with our might. We'll fight on once again. Our might. More like all might, Mina whispered to Kirishima with a giggle as the instrumental played. Gyro and a few others had their eyes closed as they listened to the music. Izuku even found himself closing his eyes as he continued to sing. Seeking out all the lies that I've been told. My tears leave me drowning. I say goodbye, everything is on the line, but I'll never know unless I try. Every time you fail, his voice went from soft to strong once more. Every time you cry, make it so it only makes you stronger. At this point he was getting quite into the song. His entire body coiled with energy and his voice was loud with confidence. With his eyes closed as he kept singing, Bakugo could stare openly at his rival, mind racing at how strangely pleased he was to see Izuku enjoying himself like this. I cut right through the wreckage and look onto the sunset. Eternity, I'm flying singing right into the sky. I can't live with regret. Make way, can't forsake the future when it's this bright, so give the fight all your might. As the instrumental went on before concluding with dual guitar and drum hits, his classmates broke into applause. That was the best one yet. Kirishima gushed, while Uraraka and Mina both shook their heads. It was good, but I still think Peace Sign is my favorite. I think because he is my hero is the cutest. I liked all of them, Ida offered, and Todoroki nodded in agreement. Gyro suddenly stood up. Izuku gazed up at her worriedly. The passionate look in her eye reminded him of a look he sometimes got when he was taking notes or ranting about something hero-related. Everyone, I think we're done here for tonight. You can all go to bed. She turned to Izuku, holding out a hand for him to grab, albeit hesitantly. Midoriya, tomorrow you and I are working on getting those songs ready for the festival. I'll help you get all of the sheet music flushed out so we can at least get the instrumental to everyone as soon as possible, as well as get Mina the music she needs to choreograph to. The pink-skinned girl jumped up and down in excitement. Then it's a break. Good night, everybody. Good night. A few of them immediately headed for their rooms, eager to fall into bed, while those like Gyro and Izuku spent a few seconds packing up their things. Ida waited in order to escort his friend to his room like the kind friend he was. However, before Izuku could join his friend, a hand on his shoulder stopped him. Deku, Bakugo said simply. Izuku gulped nervously. Yes, Kaken. He leaned forward slightly, his mouth close to the greenette's ear in order for no one else to overhear his words. Some of those songs were about me. It wasn't phrased as a question. Parts of them. Yes, he replied as panic curled in his gut. Was Bakugo mad at him? You've been a big part of my life, so it makes sense that. The blonde cut him off by poking him roughly in the center of his forehead. Gyro and Ida, who were observing the exchange from a few yards away, blinked in confusion along with Izuku. I'm not mad, idiot. See you tomorrow. With that he walked past the shorter boy, not even bothering to rub shoulders with him like he usually did. It was all Izuku could do to stare after him and wonder. Was it just me, or was he smiling? I really don't think this is a good idea, Izuku admitted as he surveyed the song lineup for the festival. He didn't have a problem with the majority of it. Gyro, along with Kaminari and Yaoyorozu as background vocals for a couple of the songs, were going to be singing the shorter songs he'd written throughout the festival. The plan was to have basic instrumentals recorded and for in between the songs for students and guests to dance to as they pleased, while also leaving plenty of time for their classmates to rest in between shows. The shows consisted of Class 1 performing a couple songs at 3 points during the festival. There were also 3 main songs being used to highlight each show, because He Is My Hero was the one going to be used for the very beginning of festival morning. Peace Sign would be the one for noon, and the last one towards the evening to be used as the finale piece would be Singing to the Sky. Overall, the lineup for the festival was amazing. He was sure it would be a huge success for their class if not for one tiny detail. I've never sang in front of anybody before yesterday, Izuku stressed, fingers tapping against the top of his laptop nervously. Besides my mom, I guess, when I was younger. Either way, having me sing the final versions of Peace Sign and Singing to the Sky might not go as well as they have in practice. How can you be so sure I won't make our class the laughing stock of the festival? Gyro rolled her eyes. As she got up to grab the folders she'd brought from her room in order to divide the sheet music and lyrics between each band team member, she made a point to pat Izuku's head jokingly. Midoriya, we've been over this. You've got a nice voice. You can sing. There's nothing for you to be worried about. If you could perform solo for thousands of strangers at the sports festival, then singing in front of at most a few hundred with your friends backing you up shouldn't be too different. It's only 2 songs, anyway. I can give you a few crash course singing lessons if it'll make you feel better though. Yaoyorozu and Kaminari are getting some. They're only singing backup, accents, and overlapping lines though. I'm going to have to sing the lead for 2 full songs as well as figure out how to act up on stage while performing, he sighed. It's just a bit much. I don't want to let anyone down. A comforting hand on his shoulder made him look up, and green eyes met deep purple. You won't let anyone down? Gyro smiled at him encouragingly. I'm just as nervous about this as you are. Thinking about singing all day in front of a bunch of other students, staff, and strangers turns my insides to jelly, trust me. Really? Yep. But you know what? When I see everyone else getting so pumped up for this and practicing as hard as they are, I know I'll be able to do it. You'll definitely be able to do it too. We both want to make others happy by putting on this show, right? Izuku thought of Eri. She'd never gotten a chance to have fun as a kid her age should. The cultural festival would be her first experience where she could be carefree and take part in things she enjoyed. It was a chance for her to unwind while seeing what determination even heroes in training displayed. Mirio and Aizawa would be her escorts that day, and they knew how important this was for her just like he did. I thought dancing would be enough, he muttered under his breath as he tried to figure out what to do. Eri-chan is already so excited to see me on stage dancing alongside of the others who helped rescue her. If I sing too, she'll probably be even happier. Maybe I could. Gyro smiled as Izuku met her eyes with a look of determination that could only belong to him. I'll do it. Great. That means we need to get on to practicing, and then recording. Then we'll be able to give the band and dance teams the recordings and sheet music they need. Izuku winced, suddenly feeling much less sure of himself. Our record. Of course, we can give the band team their sheet music with the lyrics for now, but we can't just give the dance team only the instrumental. Mina might want to work in some imagery with the songs, so having the words added to the music will be better. That makes sense, but whenever I know I'm being recording I sort of choke. Can we send everyone what we have now? We've already gotten so much done today as it is. Maybe after some lessons I'll be able to record myself tomorrow, but right now. Gyro hummed in thought. The problem is you lack confidence in your abilities. I guess. I don't really sing all that often. I can start practicing in my room later tonight if you. I have an idea. She cut him off while moving from her bed in favor for going to her closet. When she sat back down a moment later she was holding a compact black box along with a cable and a couple of microphones. Izuku gazed at her anxiously. And what is that? Karaoke? Duh. We just need to get you to loosen up. I'll set it up in the lounge so the rest of our classmates can watch or join in if they want to. Isn't it kind of late for that? Others might be trying to sleep. It's barely 9 o'clock. We still have an hour before quiet hours when we're supposed to be in bed, which gives us plenty of time for you to practice. That way you'll get used to performing in front of more people too. Heck, I might have Kaminari and Yaoyorozu join you at some point. They may be singing backup only as needed, but we want them to be prepared as well, and that means they need to sing. The only way to get better at singing is to sing after all, she explained with a grin. The brunette felt like he was going to be sick. You're right, Gyro, but wouldn't it be better for me to just practice the 2 songs I'm singing? Nope, I'm going to have you sing all sorts of stuff so you can let go of your inhibitions, which will help when you sing your songs in the long run. All we're going to do tonight is get you to ignore those watching and listening to you sing so you won't be as nervous during the festival. Sure, you were a nervous wreck when you tried talking in front of everyone during your short time as class rep, but after last night you're already coming a long way. Singing in front of all of our classmates is the next step. Speaking of, I'll go gather your audience right now. Meet you in the lounge in 5, Midoriya. It was at the moment Izuku promptly fell off the bed that she left the room. Wait a second. Gyro? She was already out the door, but Izuku knew she could still hear his pleas with that quirk of hers. Gyro simply chose to ignore him. 5 minutes later. This is going to be so much fun. Hagakure exclaimed, Ajiro nodding in agreement from the floor beside her while smiling at her enthusiasm. Are you going to sing, Ajiro-kun? I'll pass. Singing isn't really my thing, although I am happy to watch. I assume you'll be joining in on a few songs though, huh? Yep, I love singing. Although, she said with what Ajiro presumed to be a thoughtful hand on her chin, I had no idea Midori could sing. He can be so shy sometimes. The tailed blonde nodded. Around them other students were chatting while Gyro and Kaminari worked to get the television, karaoke device, and wireless microphones configured. It's true we didn't know about his apparent musical talents. It was only this morning we found out we would be dancing to his songs, he said. And for Gyro to tell us out of nowhere that we were all needed so Midoriya can practice singing for the festival is even more shocking. I have confidence in him though. He gives it his all in everything he does, which means we have nothing to worry about. Just as he finished his statement, a grinning Kirishima and Mina could be seen dragging a pouting Izuku into the room. They plopped him down onto the couch next to Yaoyorozu, who merely smiled at the boy sympathetically. No need to look so down, Midoriya. Unlike Kaminari, I'm nervous too. We'll both do fine though, I'm sure, okay. He hid his face in his hands with a groan. Surely this would only lead to disaster or embarrassment. Come on, man, loosen up. You did great last night, Kirishima assured from where he sat on the couch across from them. Beside the redhead, Bakugo ignored their conversation completely as if he was deep in thought. Izuku felt himself pulling at his green curls with a whine. This is different. I didn't write the songs I'll have to choose from, and I feel really self-conscious singing songs that are out of character for me. I know Gyro are going to have me sing things out of my comfort zone too, because despite wanting to boost my confidence, she also wants me to work on trying new, different things with my voice. Since I don't sing all too often, I feel like I'm going to sound silly. Oh, you'll be fine. If you're really that scared though, I could join you for a couple songs, Midori. Mina volunteered. The brunette could have hugged her. Really? Thank you. But, she added with a grin, I get to choose the songs. Oh, okay. That's fine with me. Somehow he felt as if he'd made a mistake. Just then Gyro sat down on the other side of him, handing him a microphone at the same time. He looked at it with a mixture of fear and hidden excitement. As terrified as he was, he knew Bakugo would be listening. Some part of him wanted to impress his childhood friend similar to how he had last night, and this would be a perfect opportunity. Unfortunately for him, the hearing hero had no room for mercy tonight. I'm sorry you're uncomfortable, she started sincerely, but this is the only way to work you up into singing for a large crowd. Trust me on this. Try to relax though, okay? This whole thing is supposed to be a low-stress, fun way for you, Kaminari, and Yaoyorozu to practice for the festival. A few others just want to join in for fun, so you won't be alone, alright? You're a brave guy, Midoriya. I know you can do this. Izuku couldn't help but smile at her words. Thanks for your confidence in me. You're welcome. However, you might not want to thank me after I tell you what I have in mind to make karaoke interesting. Okay everybody, she announced in order to get everyone's attention, we're going to play a game. The entirety of Class 1 had gathered in the middle of the common room at this point, splaying over the couches, armrests, and floors in rapt interest. Gyro pulled up a song search database while the rest of the class waited curiously for her to finish. Those who had not been there to listen to Izuku sing the night before had all been informed of his apparent songwriting and singing skills beforehand, which meant they were just as curious to hear him sing as they were to find out what this game was. I'm sure you all know how to do karaoke, but in the Kyoka household we like to play a game from time to time called musical songs. Musical songs. The entire class echoed in their heads, like musical chairs. What happens is the first singer, who will be Midoriya, and anyone who wants to join him, picks any song from the database they want. The downside is that once a song from that artist has been chosen, no other song by that artist can be sang. On top of that, another song has to be chosen by those not singing before the song being sung is over. You can actually start playing another song after the one currently being sung has been done for at least 1 minute. Since this is for practice and not a competition between anyone, though, I'll just say to just make sure to vary artists and pick another song before the other finishes. The more random genre changes, the better. You guys got all that? After seeing mostly nods, Gyro checked the configurations on the television, karaoke machine, and each microphone over once more. Once she was satisfied, she made her way back to her seat. Ready to begin? Gyro asked Midoriya when she sat back down. She had adjusted the sound system to play the instrumental a bit louder than the microphone volume, which meant to be heard over the music those singing would have to sing strong. It also meant if they became self-conscious they could lower their voices to hide under the music or the others singing. The brunette gulped in spite of the small kindness. I guess so. Someone else will be singing with me, at least for the beginning, right? Hagakure and I will. Mina shouted, another microphone already being twirled around in her hand. A third microphone had found its home seemingly floating in the air next to Ajiro. And I know exactly what song we're going to start this party off with, she grinned frighteningly. Gyro frowned. This isn't really a party. She was ignored. A moment later, Mina was using Gyro's phone, which was connected via Bluetooth to the karaoke system, to look up what songs were available. It was with a downright evil-sounding cackle that she found what she was looking for. She barely even spared a moment to show Hagakure, who said she was fine with that choice, before picking it and grinning at Izuku. You should be happy I went with this one and not something really wild. You're welcome, Midori. The music began, the familiar tune instantly making a few of the other students groan. Really, Pinky? You picked a song by P. and K. Zero laughed. He figured she'd pick something like that. This one is kind of outdated, isn't it? Shut up, tape dispenser. We grew up in the 90s and I will represent. With that she took the lead singing, Hagakure quickly joining in while Izuku merely watched them. I'm coming up, so you better get this party started, they sang. I'm coming up, so you better get this party started. Get this party started on a Saturday night. Everybody's waiting for me to arrive. Nina pointed at herself, voice smooth as she bounced around the living room. Hagakure moved around a bit as well, but seemed to be staying relatively in place so she could read the lyrics from the screen. Sending out the message to all of my friends, Mina gestures to everyone gathered, and sends a wink towards the Baka squad. We'll be looking flashy in my Mercedes-Benz. Yeah right, Bakugo muttered under his breath. All Kirishima could say beside him was, dude, Mina can sing. I got lots of style, got my gold diamond rings. She swept a hand out exaggeratedly, wiggling her eyebrows suggestively as she sang the next line, I can go for miles if you know what I mean. God is real, Minta whispered. I'm coming up, so you better get this party started. I'm coming up, so you better get this party started. Her jumping brought her in front of Izuku, and she pulled him by the arms off of the couch before he could protest. Come on, Midori. You're supposed to be singing too. It was now or never, it seemed. Your Raka was already in the midst of finding another song to play before this one ended. Pumping up the volume, breaking down to the beat, Izuku joined in quietly as Mina and Hagakure dominated. Cruising through the west side, we'll be checking the scene. Boulevard is freaking as I'm coming up fast. Izuku sputtered as he began singing the next line, which Mina accented by grinning wickedly. I'll be burning rubber, you'll be kissing my ass. And here comes the first song change. Your Raka's choice, Gyro said loudly. Those who want to sing raise your hand and someone with a microphone will give you theirs if they're done. Aw man, we were just getting Midori into it, Mina complained before relenting. As the next song began, Hagakure passed off her microphone to Uraraka, who decided to stay seated next to Ida on the couch during the song. Uraraka, sweetie, is this old Taylor Swift? Girl, the brunette blushed, ignoring the pointed look she was getting in favor of looking at Izuku. To her surprise, and everyone else's, Izuku was tapping out the song's beat on his knee from where he sat back down on the couch. What? He questioned before the lyrics appeared on the screen. I like this album. I used to think one day we'd tell the story of us, how we met and the sparks flew instantly. He sang with his eyes closed since he already knew the lyrics by heart. People would say, they're the lucky ones. I used to know my place was a spot next to you. Now I'm searching the room for an empty seat cause lately I don't even know what page you're on. Uraraka, Mina, and Izuku's voices blended together as they went on. They mixed well together, all things considered. Gyro was happy because she could actually hear Izuku this time, since he kept so quiet for the short time he'd sang the last song she hadn't even heard him. Oh, a simple complication, miscommunications lead to fallout. So many things that I wish you knew, so many walls up I can't break through. Izuku couldn't help but think of Bakugo. This song had always reminded him of his explosive friend, which flustered him to no end, yet he couldn't shake the connection. The lyrics more or less explained what kind of relationship he'd had with the blonde ever since he'd been deemed quirkless as a kid. Sure, things were different now, but the song still held the meaning of a more strained time between the two. Now I'm standing alone in a crowded room and we're not speaking, they belted collectively, Mina's free arm waving about as she acted out something akin to a tragic scene, and I'm dying to know, is it killing you like it's killing me? Yeah, I don't know what to say, since the twist of fate when it all broke down, and the story of us looks a lot like a tragedy now. Next chapter, Uraraka sang, getting a thumbs up from Tsuyu. How'd we end up this way? See me nervously pulling at my clothes and trying to look busy. It really felt like Izuku could just turn towards Bakugo and sing these words directly to him. And you're doing your best to avoid me. I'm starting to think one day I'll tell the story of us how I was losing my mind. Izuku's brows furrowed as if he were troubled. When I saw you here, but you held your pride like you should have held me. It took everything for Izuku not to look at Bakugo. He could have sworn he felt red eyes on him. Was he getting too into the song again? That was too bad. That's why Gyro was having him do this anyway. Oh, I'm scared to see the ending. Why are we pretending this is nothing? I'd tell you I miss you, but I don't know how. I've never heard silence quite this loud. They were positively jamming now, with Mina singing into the microphone like her life depended on it, Uraraka singing louder than she'd planned to, and Izuku sitting up in his seat trying to get access to more air as he let himself sing freely. Now I'm standing alone in a crowded room and we're not speaking, and I'm dying to know, is it killing you like it's killing me? Yeah, I don't know what to say, since the twist of fate when it all broke down, and the story of us looks a lot like a tragedy now. Suddenly Mina was gesturing for Uraraka to stop, and Izuku got the hint when he noticed the girls drop their microphones. This is looking like a contest, he sang by himself quietly, of who can act like they care less, but I liked it better when you were on my side. His eyes drifted to Bakugo without his consent, and to his surprise the blonde met his eyes only to hold them until Izuku looked away. The battle's in your hands now, but I would lay my armor down if you'd say you'd rather love than fight. So many things that you wish I knew. His volume grew, but the story of us might be ending soon. Song change. Takoyami's pick. Izuku became nervous as both Uraraka and Mina set their microphones down, no one else moving to grab them. When he heard the guitar instrumental of the song start, on the other hand, his heart rate settled slightly. He knew his one too. Fall asleep to dreams of home, where the waves are crashing. He thought of the waves at Dagaba Municipal Beach Park. The only place I've ever known, now the future has me. His voice was smooth like honey, filling the air with pleasant sound as he emulated the original singer perfectly in pitch and emotion. I see the fire in the sky, see it all around me. I said the past is dead, the life I had is gone. Said I won't give up until I see the sun. His classmates listened in awe, some of them really hearing Izuku sing by himself for the first time. Hold me now, he held the note, till the fear is leaving. I am barely breathing. Izuku bobbed his head slightly as he waited for the next verse, oblivious to the looks of his classmates. It actually physically hurt Kaminari to look up the next song for the game. Waking up and letting go to the sound of angels. Am I alive or just a ghost haunted by my sorrows? Hope is slipping through my hands, gravity is taking hold. I said I'm not afraid, that I am brave enough. I will not give up until I see the sun. The hand not holding the microphone rose into the air in front of him, starting out flat as if patting something before slowly turning into a fist as he continued. Hold me now till the fear is leaving. I am barely breathing. Crying out, his eyes squeezed themselves shut tighter despite already being shut, voice becoming more strained and fluctuating as he went on. These tired wings are falling. I need you to catch me. As I burn, as I break. I can't take it anymore. I return to the place where the water covers over everything. Rescue me somehow. Next song, Gyro said sadly once he'd tapered off. Chosen by Kaminari. Izuku snapped out of it immediately, becoming flustered as he noticed one drop jaw from a classmate in the midst of several thumbs up. What mattered the most to him was the slight nod he could have sworn Bakugo gave him. Electronic music began playing as Kaminari got up and grabbed a microphone. Do you know this one, Midoriya? I freaking love Owl City. His statement was met with a smile and nod. I do. I like a lot of their songs, this one included. With that they launched into the song together, each of them grinning at each other when their voice mixed extremely well. Close your tired eyes, relax, and then count from 1 to 10 and open them. All these heavy thoughts will try to weigh you down, but not this time. Way up in the air you're finally free, and you can stay up there, right next to me. Kaminari stole a look at Gyro, who smiled at him fondly. All this gravity will try to pull you down, but not this time. When the sun goes down and the lights burn out, then it's time for you to shine, they harmonized, Kaminari going lower as Izuku went higher at the last word, brighter than a shooting star, so shine no matter where you are. Fill the darkest night with a brilliant light cause it's time for you to shine. Izuku smiled as Yaoyorozu tentatively took the microphone that had been passed to her before joining in quietly. Brighter than a shooting star, so shine no matter where you are. Tonight. Whoa, whoa, whoa. The girl's voice was pleasant underneath the boys' voices, and she found herself singing a bit louder. Brighter than a shooting star, shine no matter where you are. Tonight. Gaze into my eyes when the fire starts, the trio sang, and fan the flame so hot it melts our hearts. Oh, the pouring rain will try to put it out, but not this time. Let your colors burn and brightly burst into a million sparks that all disperse. Izuku kicked himself for thinking of Bakugo yet again, blatantly ignoring the fluttering in his chest that he attributed to thinking about his childhood friend, and illuminate a world that will try to bring you down, but not this time. Switcheroo time. Hagakura's pick. Upon hearing the next instrumental into the song, Kaminari put his microphone down. Izuku was happy to see Yaoyorozu's eyes brighten as she heard the familiar song and continued holding onto her own microphone. They gave each other shaky smiles of encouragement as they started the song off quietly. I can hold my breath. I can bite my tongue. I can stay awake for days if that's what you want. Be your number one. I can fake a smile. Izuku was good at that. I can force a laugh. That too. I can dance and play the part if that's what you ask. Give you all I am. What was wrong with him? Why can't he sing without thinking of his friend? Maybe he'd need to write something later to get it out of his system. I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. But I'm only human. The two singing raised their voices, becoming more powerful as they kept on, and I bleed when I fall down. I'm only human, and I crash and I break down. Your words in my head, Izuku sang by himself as Yaoyorozu took a breather, knives in my heart. You build me up and then I fall apart, the girl finished by herself. They came back together, cause I'm only human. Kirishima's choice, sorry guys. At the country-esque instrumental, Yaoyorozu put her microphone down only for Aoyama to pick it up with a sparkle. I don't sing too loud, Midoriya-kun, so I'll allow you to have the lead. Izuku nodded at his friend, one of which he'd just begun coming closer to after some strange and cheese-related events. All day, staring at the ceiling making friends with shadows on my wall. All night, hearing voices telling me that I should get some sleep, because tomorrow might be good for something. This was reminding Izuku of his elementary and middle school days, which caused a frown to grace his face as he continued. It didn't help that he'd never heard this song before. Hold on, feeling like I'm headed for a breakdown, and I don't know why. But I'm not crazy, I'm just a little unwell. I know right now you can't tell, but stay a while and maybe then you'll see a different side of me. Aoyama was doing well, voice carrying both of theirs from the bottom. I'm not crazy, I'm just a little impaired. I know right now you don't care, but soon enough you're gonna think of me, and how I used to be, me. I'm talking to myself in public. Izuku fought off a blush at the lyrics. They fit him rather well, what with his mumbling habit. Dodging glances on the train. And I know they've all been talking about me. I can hear them whisper. It was his old classmates' whispers and taunts in his ears, and it makes me think there must be something wrong with me. They were never kind to him after they found out he was quirkless and Bakugo turned on him. Out of all the hours thinking somehow I've lost my mind. There was a knock at the entrance to their dorm, which startled class 1 more than they'd like to admit. Izuku was grateful for the interruption since it caused Gyro to pause the song. Who would be here at this hour? Zero questioned, turning to Ida. The class representative glanced at the door in confusion, getting off of the couch he'd been sitting on cautiously. I'm honestly not sure, but it is my duty to represent us, so I shall see who it is. Before he could reach the door, however, whoever was outside seemed to have used up all of his or her patience. The doorknob wiggled as a key was inserted into it. A moment later it was to the students' relief that it was their teacher visiting them, although they immediately switched to concerned upon noticing the small figure next to him. Aizawa-sensei, why is Uri-chan here? Uraraka asked worriedly. Beside her, Tsuyu seconded her question with a soft ribbit. The tired hero sighed, the girl holding his hand looking across the room until she noticed Izuku. As soon as she saw him she let go of her escort's hand and rushed towards the greenette. Deku-san, Uri-chan, he gasped as the little girl jumped into his arms, his protectiveness for her spiking when he noticed the dried tears on her face. Did something happen to Mirio-kun? What's wrong? When she didn't say anything, instead deciding to hide her face in his shirt, Izuku looked to Aizawa for an answer. Mirio is just fine, though maybe a bit worried about Uri. He informed me not too long ago that she had a nightmare and woke up insisting that she see you. We tried to avoid it, he sighed with arms crossed. I would have rather not had to open school gates after curfew, but it seems you lot were up anyway. At the accusatory tone Ada bowed deeply. My apologies, Aizawa-sensei. We were only doing karaoke in order to help our friends who will be singing in the festival more comfortable. We were planning on turning in for the night soon, I promise. Their teacher seemed unimpressed. I'll take your word for it. Be that as it may, I don't want to be here all night long, he gestured towards Uri. Izuku looked up at the underground hero after catching the hint. As he let his fingers run through the girl's hair reassuringly, he met his teacher's eyes with determined green ones. She can stay here tonight, if you'll allow it. You or Mirio-kun could come get her in the morning. I'm sure she'd be more comfortable here tonight anyway, and I don't think anyone else has a problem with it. Right? He looked around for support, and nearly everyone nodded in approval. She cannot sleep on the boys' side of the dormitory, Aizawa warned. Eri-chan could room with either me or Tsuyu-kun. Uraraka offered. That way she'd be on the girls' side. Kirishima cleared his throat. Not to rain on your parade, Uraraka, but I think she wants to stay with Midoriya. But she can't stay on the boys' side, especially with Minda being in the room next to Deku's. How about a sleepover in the lounge? Shoji suggested. Sleepover, Mina cheered excitedly. Aizawa-sensei, can we please? The adult in the room stood there for a moment in thought. I suppose you won't be breaking any rules, and there isn't school tomorrow. I also trust Ida and Yaoyorozu to keep you all in line, however, Minda. The grape-haired hero froze in fear. If you so much as leer at one of your classmates, especially while Eri is here, you will be expelled. Do I make myself clear? Why yes, sir. He turned to Izuku. I trust you to take good care of her tonight then, Midoriya. If something troubling happens you have the number to call. I'll be back with Mirio around noon tomorrow to pick her up. Izuku nodded. In his lap Eri finally looked up, a relieved smile on her face as she heard she wouldn't have to leave just yet. You can count on me, sensei. Good. Now, do you brats have any coffee in the kitchen? With it they watched their teacher make his way to the kitchen to prepare some coffee before heading out. Most of the students had their attention on Izuku and Eri anyway, none of them sure if they should put an end to karaoke in favor of doing something more kid-friendly or not. Their question was answered a minute later for them though when Eri looked up at Izuku with wide, curious eyes. Deku-san, what is karaoke? Oh, it's singing. There's a device hooked up to the television that allows you to select any song available on the internet. It plays the music without the words and displays the lyrics on the screen so whoever has a microphone can sing along instead. We have 3 microphones, he explained as he held the one that had been at his side up to show her. She took it hesitantly, looking at it in awe. Singing. That's what you all were doing. Yep. So, were you singing, Deku-san? A sheepish look swept over his face as if embarrassed. Yeah, I was. You remember how I told you I would be dancing at the festival, right? I just learned that I'll be singing 2 songs as well. We were all doing karaoke so I could get used to singing in front of people since I'm pretty shy. To his surprise, Eri looked at him in awe, causing a few of his classmates to coo at how cute she was. You're so brave, she said, voice soft. I don't know much music though even if I wasn't too shy to sing in front of people. But you, Tim, can you sing me a song? Please. Izuku smiled down at her lovingly. It was as if he'd gained a little sister for how much he wanted to protect her and make her happy. Of course, Eri-chan. We can do karaoke for a little while longer. Gyro, can you pick Safe and Sound by Taylor Swift? He asked while taking the microphone back from Eri. I know we already picked one of her songs, but I've got you covered, Midoriya. She selected the song relatively fast, barely giving everyone else time to be surprised at Izuku's sudden eagerness to sing. I guess having a cute young girl asking him to sing was all the motivation he needed, Kaminari Stage whispered to Gyro jokingly. Oh shut up, Sparky. A moment later the music began to play, the soft notes of string instruments and percussion filling the air with a light lullaby like Izuku finally came and his voice was just as light, the soft emotion he poured into his words as he held Eri tugged at the heartstrings of many listening. I remember tears streaming down your face when I said I'll never let you go, he breathed, looking down at Eri. When all those shadows almost killed your light. He thought of Chisaki and Eri's rescue, but pushed it from his mind. I remember you said don't leave me here alone. Their first meeting in the alleyway sparked into his mind, but all that's dead and gone and past tonight. He let his eyes slip shut as he continued, voice fluctuating with almost masterful control as he serenaded the girl. Said child stared at him with eyes filled with surprise. Just close your eyes, the sun is going down. You'll be all right. He placed a hand on her head and smiled. No one can hurt you now. Come morning light, you and I'll be safe and sound. A small sniffle escaped Eri at the words, and she found herself hiding in the boy's chest as he continued. Don't you dare look out your window, darling, everything's on fire. The war outside our door keeps raging on. He's amazing, Uraraka found herself whispering. How he can pull of this song better than the original is just, wow. Suya shrugged. I'm not much a Taylor Swift fan anyway, ribbit. Midoriya is just great at singing overall. I can't believe he's still self-conscious about himself when he sounds as good as he does. My voice is too nasally to sound that good, unfortunately. Hey, I'm sure you sound fine. I always get off key when I sing. Hold on to this lullaby, he continued, even when the music's gone. Just close your eyes, the sun is going down. You'll be all right, no one can hurt you now. That was a promise. Come morning light, you and I'll be safe and sound. There was a long string of instrumental where Izuku sang the sound since there were no words. As he did so Eri listened happily, enjoying every moment. She couldn't remember feeling this safe and content in her life. Just close your eyes, he sang as he stroked her hair lazily. You'll be all right. Come morning light, you and I'll be safe and sound. None of his students knew this, but Aizawa was mildly impressed from where he stood in the kitchen nursing his coffee tiredly. The boy has potential when it comes to singing, it seems. He hummed under his breath. As interesting a development as the discovery was, however, he had a lot of things that had to be done. He slipped out one of the back doors that lock automatically without another thought. In the lounge, Eri was squeezing Izuku for everything he had. That was really good, Deku-san. Can you sing more? Izuku chuckled, attention too focused on the little girl before him to notice the soft look his crush was sending him. Sure. Gyro, can you pick Gift of a Friend by Demi Lovato? She answered with a sure thing the same moment Kirishima reached his hand out and begged for a microphone. Dude, this was in a Tinkerbell movie. My little cousin loves this song. Izuku tilted his head in confusion. Huh, I didn't know that. You're going to sing it with me though. Yep, we can switch off every now and then too. We gotta impress Eri-chan somehow, he said with a friendly wink at the girl in question. She offered him a minuscule smile back. It was all she was capable of as smiling was still a bit new to her. The music started with a light, carefree feel to it. Sometimes you think you'll be fine by yourself, 'cause a dream is a wish you make all alone. Kirishima sang by himself, normally this time, which was vastly different when compared to the screaming he demonstrated during the band team auditions. It's easy to feel like you don't need help, Izuku finished, but it's harder to walk on your own. Izuku knew this well. You'll change inside when you realize. They came back together. The world comes to life. Izuku swayed in his seat, taking Eri with him, and everything's bright. From beginning to end, when you have a friend by your side that helps you to find the beauty of all, when you'll open your heart and believe in, they both took in a quick breath. The gift of a friend. The gift of a friend. Neither of them could stop themselves from picturing their respective friend groups as they went on. Izuku thought of Uraraka, Ida, Todoroki, and even All Might before picturing his entire class, while Kirishima glanced at Mina, Shiro, Kaminari, and Bakugo. Singing really reminded them how thankful they were for everyone. Someone who knows when you're lost and you're scared, Kirishima soloed again, there through the highs and the lows. Someone you can count on, Izuku resumed, someone who cares, beside you wherever you go. You'll change inside when you realize. The world comes to life, and everything's bright. A few of the students began clapping with the music, making the room feel even lighter. From beginning to end, when you have a friend by your side that helps you to find the beauty of all, when you'll open your heart and believe in the gift of a friend. The gift of a friend, the boys raised their voices, emotion permeating the air. And when your hope crashes down shattering to the ground, you'll feel all alone. Izuku and Kirishima both thought of time when they were down. Izuku remembering being told time and time again that he could be a hero, and Kirishima remembering his middle school days. When you don't know which way to go and there's no signs leading you home, you're not alone. The world comes to life, Kirishima began before they alternated. And everything's bright, from beginning to end. When you have a friend by your side, Izuku held the note strongly. That helps you to find the beauty of all when you'll open your heart and believe in. Kirishima joined Izuku once more. When you believe in, you can believe in. The gift of a friend. As the song ended, a few classmates broke into cheers, Mina and Shiro whooping loudly at Kirishima for ripping Demi to shreds as they called it. Eri looked up at Izuku again, mouth opening and closing a few times as if unsure if she should ask the question she was preparing to. Did you like the song? Izuku asked gently. Eri nodded. Yes, you both were amazing. I wish I could sing like that. You can join me in another song if you want, he offered while placing a hand over one of hers reassuringly. No one will judge you, I promise. Do you have any songs in mind? The question seemed to make her sad, and Izuku had the itch to punch himself in the face. I don't really know very many. I watched Frozen with Mirio-san a few days ago though. I really liked it. Do you know any songs that were in the movie? He thought about it for a moment, a hand coming to rub the back of his neck self-consciously. Everybody knows Let It Go. Is that one okay? Yes. I don't want a microphone though, if that's okay. She averted her eyes. I'm not comfortable with everyone hearing me right now. That's fine. You can sing along as quietly as you like. Preparing himself mentally, Izuku almost didn't notice Todoroki of all people carefully pick up one of the microphones while Gyro searched for the song. Green eyes met heterochromatic in mild surprise. My siblings and I watch all of the Disney films together because Fayumi loves them and father hates them. I quite like the music in the movie. He thought for a moment. Honestly, Elsa is my favorite character. It's not because half of my quirk is similar to her powers either. He sent a withering look at most of the Baka squad, who started laughing at his admission. Eri tilted her head as she gazed at Todoroki. Elsa is my favorite character too. The way she didn't know how to control her powers reminds me of myself. The way she feared them reminds me of myself too. That makes sense. Want to know why she's my favorite? Why? Todoroki sat down in front of where Midoriya sat, making it so he was closer to the young girl. She didn't use her power because she was afraid of becoming a monster and out of fear from hurting people. I used to be like her too. And like how Anna reached out to reassure her she was capable of controlling her powers, I had someone that knocked some sense into my head about my own capabilities, he explained with a subtle gesture at the boy holding her. One day you'll be able to control your powers just as well as she does. The two gazed at each other for a long moment, only breaking eye contact when Gyro began the song. Todoroki needed to see the lyrics. As the instrumental finished up and ready to jump into the lyrics, he and Izuku took a breath before launching in. The snow glows white on the mountain tonight, not a footprint to be seen. A kingdom of isolation. Todoroki allowed his volume to gradually get louder as he sang, and it looks like I'm the queen. The wind is howling like this swirling storm inside. Couldn't keep it in, heaven knows I've tried. Izuku already had his eyes closed at this point, the song having been burned into his brain long before. It was catchy and sung by an amazing singer after all. Don't let them in, don't let them see, be the good girl you always have to be. Izuku smiled when he heard Uri's small voice. Conceal, don't feel, don't let them know. Well, now they know, they sang in harmony. Let it go. Several others joined in at the chorus. Kirishima, Shiro, Kota, and the girls save Gyro were the most noticeable. Let it go, can't hold it back anymore. Let it go, turn away and slam the door. Mina and Kirishima were now standing, acting out the lyrics while Uri watched in shock. I don't care what they're going to say. Let the storm rage on, the cold never bothered me anyway. It's funny how some distance makes everything seem small, Izuku sang with a brilliant smile when he noticed Uri genuinely smiling at his friend's antics. The fact a couple more had joined them in song made him happy too. And the fears that once controlled me can't get to me at all. It's time to see what I can do to test the limits and break through. No right, no wrong, no rules for me, I'm free. Let it go, I am one with the wind and sky. Nearly the entire class belted, no longer trying to sing seriously. There were too many voices for that. Kirishima and Mina were probably trying to out-obsonious each other anyway with the way they were spinning around and nearly yelling. Let it go, you'll never see me cry. Here I stand and here I stay. Let the storm rage on. Todoroki, Mina laughed during the small instrumental, use your ice like Elsa. The boy in question merely stared at her, not giving her request an answer. My power flurries through the air into the ground. A few of them threw their arms into the air dramatically. My soul is spiraling in frozen fractals all around, and one thought crystallizes like an icy blast. I'm never going back. Izuku nearly stopped singing in favor of laughing as he noticed Mina and Kirishima throwing their arms around a silent Bakugo, singing loudly in their friend's ears despite the murderous look on his face. The past is in the past. Uri watched as Todoroki produced a spray of ice from his right hand, the boy rolling his eyes when Mina had to stop singing because she was laughing so hard. He did give Uri a soft smile when she positively lit up at his display. Izuku thought he could hear her say something along the lines of Todoroki being a Disney prince, but he couldn't hear her clearly over the sound of Class 1 singing. Let it go, and I'll rise like the break of dawn. Kirishima jumped up on the couch only for Ida to stop singing so he could tell him to stop disrespecting the furniture. Let it go, that perfect girl is gone. Mina posed dramatically. Here I stand in the light of day. Let the storm rage on. The cold never bothered me anyway. The song ended with bouts of laughter. Even Bakugo didn't look like he was going to immediately kill somebody. As his classmates chatted about getting their pajamas on, grabbing some snacks along with their blankets and pillows, the talk of building a fort in the midst, Izuku turned to Gyro with grateful eyes. Thanks for this, Gyro-kun. After I got over my nervousness, it was actually a lot of fun. I think maybe we can work on the recordings tomorrow afternoon, he said sheepishly. If that's all right with you, that is. Sounds like a plan to me, Midoriya-kun. You're going to do great. He lit up at her praise, almost missing the red-eyed gaze of Bakugo on him from several feet away. His heart almost stopped when, despite the unimpressed look on the blonde's face, he noticed him causally giving him a thumbs up before looking away. Kaken gave me a thumbs up. Oh my gosh, he squealed internally. It took Uri a couple of tries to snap him out of his daze after that. In order of appearance, get the party started by P. and K. Story of Us by Taylor Swift. Hold Me Now by Red. Shooting Stars by Owl City. Human by Christina Perri. Unwell by Matchbox 20. Safe and Sound by Taylor Swift. A Gift of a Friend by Demi Lovato. Let It Go by Idina Menzel. Songs That Almost Made It. Haunted by Taylor Swift. Show Me What I'm Looking For by Carolina Liar. Embers by Owl City. I See the Light by Mandy Moore. Izuku's spirits had started off high the next morning. For starters, Sato had offered to make pancakes once most of the class was awake. Nearly everyone had enthusiastically taken him up on the offer. With the help of a few classmates, they gathered in the kitchen barely half an hour later to see various plates stacked with a variety of pancakes and an assortment of toppings. There wasn't enough room for everyone to sit at the table, so much to Ida's distaste it was decided they could take to eating at the work table, the living room as well. Izuku couldn't have been happier eating a stack of chocolate chip pancakes next to Uri, who ate apple cinnamon pancakes with a look of pure bliss on her face. Even Bakugo had been in a rather good mood. He had found cumin in the cupboard and doused his mediocre pancakes with it. Shiro and Kaminari had looked upon the sight with horror, cradling their own syrup-drenched plates protectively. After that there had been some downtime before Aizawa and Mirio would arrive. They decided collectively to curl back down in the living room to watch a movie of Uri's choice. Can we watch another Disney movie? I've seen Frozen, Tangled, and Mona so far and I really enjoyed them. You haven't seen The Lion King. Guys, we have to watch that one. It's the best, Kirishima shouted. Uraraka sent him a death glare. We are not making her cry this early in the morning. Pick something less upsetting, like Mulan. that had begun a debate over which movie was the least upsetting, several pointing out many sad events that took place in the movies or arguing that the older Disney movies were bad role models for her. Belle fell in love with an animal, shithead. Bakugo yelled at Zero while setting off sparks. You want the little brat to think bestiality is okay. He's not an animal. And oh my gosh, man, you just spoiled the romantic element of the movie. How the hell is that a spoiler? It's called Beauty and the Beast for Fu. Language. Yeah, Yazuru cut in. In the midst of all the arguing, Todoroki had taken liberty of putting a DVD in on his own. It was only after the previews for remastered versions of the decade or two old Disney movies began that his classmates turned towards him confused. Todoroki-kun, Izuku asked from where Eri and he sat next to each other on the couch, Hida to his left and Uraraka and Tsuyu next to Eri. What did you pick? He turned his dual-colored eyes to the group and answered without a hint of emotion. The Little Mermaid. Can we ask why? Gyro was curious like the rest of her classmates. The boy's face became serious, eyes narrowing at the question. I like Ariel. She doesn't let her father boss her around. Also, he said offhandedly, his face back to normal, I enjoy the music. Nobody had dared to say anything after that. The movie was just ending when Aizawa and Mirio had arrived, the two patiently waiting as Ariel and the prince got married. Once it ended, Izuku and his classmates bid Eri goodbye. Mirio thanked them for having her, leaving after a tired Aizawa beckoned him to follow. As they left, Mirio could be heard telling Eri about how he liked the Little Mermaid too, but never to do what Ariel did and change herself to earn someone's love. It was funny when Eri said she hadn't noticed that in the first place, causing Mirio to try and steer the conversation to something else while Aizawa just sighed. He did not get paid enough for his job. Once the trio had gone, Gyro and Mina made sure to remind everyone that now that their fun time was over, it was time to get back to work preparing for the festival. Gyro hadn't even given Izuku a second to himself before he was dragged upstairs to her room to record the songs like they'd planned. It had taken roughly a couple hours, but the playlist for the festival was complete. There were 3 flash drives with all of the tracks and instrumentals in order of when they were going to be played, and separate documents for sheet music and lyrical text. One of these is going to Mina for the dance team, another for Todoroki on the staging team, and I'm keeping the last one just to have a physical backup with me at all times. I've put everything on the flash drive on a cloud account and emailed the link to everyone on the band team though, in case they lose their sheet music or want to listen to the songs on their own time. As it is, I'm going to meet up with them before and after dinner so we can practice playing the music. We'll try adding vocals in Tamuro. Okay, Izuku said. Gyro seemed to have everything taken care of. If you guys are going to be focusing on playing instruments tonight then, should I work with the dance team? That'd be a good idea, yeah. It had absolutely not been a good idea. Midori, I'm having Aoyama go over the routines with the dance team outside while we head over to the gymnasium. Why are the two of us going there to practice? Shouldn't the whole team be practicing together? Mina feigned disappointment. Gyro didn't tell you. We've got ourselves a one-on-one practice session tonight to help you with your stage presents. Izuku raised an eyebrow. My stage what? Stage presents. You know, like moving around on stage and working in some body movement in lieu of serious dancing so it won't interrupt your singing. You're not just going to stand next to Gyro while you sing. She said as if the idea of him singing in place was a ludicrous idea. If she weren't playing guitar on top of singing I would have made her join in on the lesson. But as it stands we need to get you to loosen your body up so you can jump around on stage like me. Is that really It is absolutely necessary. She cut him off, giving him a once-over before nodding. The shirt and shorts you're in are as good as anything to wear while practicing. I guess this means you're ready to go. Grab some water bottles for us while I fetch my wireless speaker from my room, please and thank you. I'll meet you at the dorm entrance in 5. Izuku wasn't able to get a word out before she turned on her heel and left, leaving him standing in his doorway as he remembered the 2 minutes of relaxing he'd gotten in after recording fondly. Several minutes later, let me just get my phone synced with the speaker, Mina said brightly. She kneeled down next to where her speaker was placed at the front of the stage, the device facing back towards them so they would be able to hear the music better. I do have to warn you though, Midori, we're going to be practicing to music faster and more geared towards the pop or dance genres than yours. We won't be doing any singing at all at the beginning either, because I want you to focus on learning some common dance and stage moves used by a lot of singers. Izuku nodded, having accepted his fate on the walk to the auditorium. It also helped that only the two of them would be practicing, so he was less self-conscious of making a fool of himself. She stood back up a moment later. Turning to him, clad in short, loose shorts and a vibrantly colored tank top, she picked a playlist labeled Dance Until You're Dead. The music began to play just as she was setting her phone down and out of the way. Before we begin, the girl said as she motioned Izuku to walk with her to the center of the stage, I want you to do something for me. What is it? Mina grinned, eyes sparkling mischievously. I want you to stop thinking and copy every move I make while we practice. I don't care how weird you might think the moves are. I don't care if you'll never use them for the rest of your life, much less for the festival. My job is to get you to loosen up, get your body moving, and make sure you know the bare minimum of how to dance. We're going to begin doing it the only way I know how. So, Midori, do you know who is singing this song? Izuku seemed to be caught off guard by the question. It was too easy a question. Yes, she's popular beyond belief in America. This is Britney Spears. Wrong. What? No, I'm in. It's Britney, bitch. I don't underst. She put a finger to his lips and shushed him. Stop thinking and monkey see monkey do from now on. Go. With music from the early 2000 seconds filling the auditorium like background music of a training montage, their lesson began. We'll start off easy with some stationary moves. Remember, watch closely, copy, and memorize them. Later I'll just call out the names of the moves I've taught you. Oh okay. From then on Mina would move or strike a pose, say the name of what she called it, and kept doing it until Izuku got it. They did indeed start with some easy ones. He learned what she called northeast, northwest, southeast, and southwest. Basically, she would raise her arms diagonally as if her head were the needle pointing north on a compass. Izuku got all of the movements down and committed to memory within a couple minutes. Next came various arm motions incorporating his torso or head. She taught what she called the tummy ache and headache. This involved splaying a hand flat on her stomach with her right hand and bringing her left hand to her temple. Then there was the migraine, which was just him putting his hands on either side of his head like he was having a breakdown. She taught him to look up, down, left, right, which meant him turning his head and looking in the directions the move said. There was the neck roll, which called for him dramatically lolling his head around his shoulders. From there she showed him what else he could do with his arms while singing. She had them out on either side of her, saying moving the arms like that while singing and moving the head in some direction was simple but looked good. She showed him raising them slowly up would be good for building tension of a song, and bringing them back down could be good for dramatic or strong points in a song. She also showed him the hug as she called it, which meant him hugging himself. The left and right sweep followed after. This consisted of him sweeping either his right or left arm out in front of him. On top of that there was pointing, meaning he was supposed to put his left hand on his hip while pointing forwards with his right arm. He learned the simple hip maneuver that was just putting his hand on his hip. She added onto it by telling him to move his hips from left to right in a snappy motion, calling it the hip snap. Now we'll focus on the legs, she said brightly after a few songs had passed and many moves had been learned. This will require moving, so how about you stand so you're beside me? It'll be easier if we're facing the same direction. So they continued, Izuku copying Mina's every move. First they started with what she dubbed the restless leg. It was the easiest move yet, simply requiring Izuku to bring his heel off the ground repeatedly. There was the spin, which was literally just doing a 180-degree turn in whatever direction went before it. Forward and backward meant walking in either direction stated, to the right and to the left being the other commands. The around town was basically bringing their hips around in a circle. Then came the knees and ball. Izuku was told to literally drop down to his knees on the first move and to add curling forward at the second move. Left knee and right knee were just dropping down onto the designated knee. He learned slide next. It was basically stepping in whatever direction specified but doing so slowly and dragging the non-leading foot rather than picking both feet up. Shimmy was bringing one shoulder up while bending down slightly in the opposite direction only to alternate shoulders back and forth. Twirl was spinning while also having his arms form a diamond shape above his head, palms facing outwards. Jump and skip were both self-explanatory. Then they got to what Izuku could only describe as oddly specific moves. Phone was pretending a hand was a phone. Not that weird, right? Clothes was a move that resembled his ripping his clothes off, that he was more embarrassed about but repeated anyway. He was even fine with sashaying, which he could only describe as a supermodel walk, although Mina looked more like a tiger on a prowl. He still did it, of course, but when it came to Mina having him do pelvic thrusts he drew the line. Mina-kun, this is a family-friendly show. Nobody better be doing those moves, he stated with a blush, trying to look anywhere at her smirking face. Oh, I was just having a little bit of fun. It's good to get out of your comfort zone anyway. Speaking of, you're doing really well so far. Think you want to try your hand at dancing a song with me while I yell out the names of the moves we'll be doing? Izuku took a moment to grab one of the water bottles he'd grabbed from the dorm, handing a second one to his personal dance coach without a second thought. She smiled at him gratefully. You really think I'm ready? He asked once he'd drained half the water bottle. Wiping the water trailing down her chin away, the girl gave him a knowing look. You're ready to practice? Yes. And practice makes as close to perfect as we can get in such a short amount of time. You're actually pretty good at moving your body, Midori. I think you're just a little scared to do it. Well, yeah. I don't want to look silly in front of anyone. Tell me something, Mina said with a hand on her hip. Do I look silly when I dance? Of course not. What about our classmates? Do they look stupid when they dance? None of them look stupid. If we don't look silly or stupid, then what do you think we look like when we dance? Amazing, Izuku answered honestly. You all look so talented when you move. I know how much work it takes to dance like you do, and it's really cool to watch. At Mina's pointed look he trailed off. He sighed as the moral of her question set in. She placed a palm on his shoulder, the moment tender despite if you seek Amy playing in the background. I really wish you could see yourself like you see your friends. You're great at so many things, but you can't get it through those thick curls of yours. Her hand moved to pet those curls affectionately as if to make her point. Anyway, enough with the sappy stuff. Let's get back to dancing. I know just the song. A moment later, Izuku and Mina were standing a few yards apart while facing each other, waiting for the desired song to start up. The filler one she'd chosen ended. As the semi-familiar tune of Toxic started, the real practice began. Baby, can't you see? I'm calling. A guy like you should wear a warning. It's dangerous, I'm fallen. There's no escape. I can't wait, I need a hit, baby, give me it. You're dangerous, I'm loving it. Too high, can't come down. Losing my head, spinning round and round. Do you feel me now? Mina didn't waste a second. One after the other she called out commands like what she'd taught him, telling him to flow from one to the next naturally as he could. They mostly stayed in the same place though, but Izuku knew they would be moving as time went on. With a taste of your lips I'm on a ride, you're toxic I'm slipping under. With a taste of a poison paradise, I'm addicted to you. Don't you know that you're toxic? And I love what you do, don't you know that you're toxic? She began throwing in some new movements, combining ones she'd already taught him and having him perform some moves that involved him lowering himself to the ground. He was a bit slow on the uptake at times. Moreover, many of his movements were a bit choppier or slower than he liked. It's getting late to give you up. I took a sip from my devil's cup. Slowly it's taking over me. Too high, can't come down. It's in the air and it's all around. Can you feel me now? As they went on, he improved. His body felt more at ease moving quickly from one position to the other. It helped that he was actually enjoying himself, a smile lighting up his face as he started being able to keep up with Mina's expert movements. He was even able to copy some of her original moves. With a taste of your lips I'm on a ride, you're toxic I'm slipping under. With a taste of a poison paradise, I'm addicted to you. Don't you know that you're toxic? And I love what you do, don't you know that you're toxic? Don't you know that you're toxic? At some point Izuku wondered if they could do this again sometime when the stakes weren't so high. Dancing was a great and fun way to exercise, it seemed, and it was a nice skill to have. Some of the moves gave him ideas for fighting maneuvers as well. With a taste of your lips I'm on a ride, you're toxic I'm slipping under. With a taste of a poison paradise, I'm addicted to you. Don't you know that you're toxic? And I love what you do, don't you know that you're toxic? With a taste of your lips I'm on a ride, you're toxic I'm slipping under. With a taste of a poison paradise, I'm addicted to you. Don't you know that you're toxic? And I love what you do, don't you know that you're toxic? They had been moving across the floor for some time now, still facing each other but often several yards on either side of one another. Now they came back together. Mina directed him to do the knees while throwing in a neck roll with a successive headache. Intoxicate me now, with your lovin' now. I think I'm ready now, I think I'm ready now. Intoxicate me now, with your lovin' now. I think I'm ready now. The music came to an end with the two of them breathing moderately heavy. Izuku quickly stood back up, straightened his back, and wrung his hands together as he looked at his teacher expectantly. How was that? Don't look so terrified. It was really good for your first time, Midori. Do you think you could have come up with a pattern of moves to perform if I hadn't chosen them? Izuku looked at the ground for a moment before tilting his head thoughtfully. I think so. I probably would have found a few choice moves that went with the various segments of the song and added a few moves in as the intensity increased. Good. Later I'll have you pick a song and compose your own dance routine using what I taught you along with your own additions of course. But before you can show me your improvisation skills, you first need to pass my own personal test. And what is that exactly? Izuku asked, part of him fearing the answer. When Mina smirked he knew his fear was warranted. You and I are going to raise the difficulty of the dance we'll be doing by upping the general speed or beat of the song. We're going to go fast, and there will be movements we haven't practiced since they're a bit too risky for our target audience, but you're going to do them for the sake of better flow and to build your self-confidence. It's going to feel embarrassing and awkward at first, but trust me, if you can keep up with me I'll know that you're capable and no longer in need of my teaching. Also it'll be fun. I'm even going to go through the moves with you beforehand while the song is on repeat before we take it from the top. Okay. And so began the most awkward half an hour of Izuku's life. To be fair, many of the moves were similar to what they had learned before. On the other hand, there were so many other ways to move the body that made Izuku want to blush just watching Mina. She was bursting with self-confidence and moved with purpose, which Izuku did admire her for, but knowing he would need to repeat her movements in order to be free from this dance lesson. Well, he was just glad it was only Mina that would witness what was about to follow. Think sexy. She berated him at one movement where he was supposed to run his hands from his waistline and up his torso, throwing his arms out languidly afterwards. And unlike the other dance moves I taught you before today, you want to move with more of a flow and less sharply. Here, watch me one more time. No, Midori. Wiggle your entire body more and then work yourself up into shaking your upper body. Also, when you jet your hip out to the side, do it with more power. Okay, it seems you've gotten the hang of all of the movements. You're just doing them hella awkwardly. Move with confidence, like an animal on the prowl. Pretend you're trying to attract a mate with your sexy moves. Izuku nearly screamed into his hands at that comment, but thankfully controlled himself and only groaned while his face turned red instead. Finally, after they had another short break to grab a drink, Mina played the filler song that would come before the one they had been practicing to on loop. As the tune of Hit Me Baby One More Time came to a close, Izuku and Mina took to the center of the stage facing where the crowd would be in less than a week's time. They stood 2 yards apart this time since they would be moving in sync together. This is it, Mina said. Her voice was soft and serious, but when she turned to give him a thumbs up her eyes were bright and filled with pride. Give it all you've got, okay. Dance like there's someone out there you want to blow away. He took a deep breath and nodded. All right. They got into their starting position a second before the music began, and then they were dancing. Lately, I've been stuck imagining what I want to do and what I really think. Time to blow out. Be a little inappropriate, cause I know that everybody's thinking it when the light's out. Neither of them could hear anything other than the music as they danced in sync, the sound of the front doors of the gymnasium opening lost as they moved. Shame on me, to knee release uncontrollably. Izuku and Mina moved their hands away from their hips simultaneously, going into the practiced arm movements as easy as adding a skip to their step. As they moved into the chorus for the first time, the music played over the sound of gasps of surprise from the other side of the room. I wanna go all the way taking out my freak tonight. I wanna show all the dirt I got running through my mind, I wanna go all the way taking out my freak tonight. I wanna show all the dirt I got running through my mind, They got off of the floor, eyeing each other as they went into the next wave of moves. He pushed the small part of him that was mortified having rolled his body in such a suggestive position, the hip movements included, away. He needed to keep up with Mina if he wanted this to be over with. He also couldn't deny that dancing was growing on him. Lately, people got me all tied up. There's a countdown waiting for me to erupt. Time to blow out. I've been told who I should do it with, to keep both my hands above the blank blanket when the light's out. Shame on me, to knee release uncontrollably. The part that was coming up was Izuku's favorite. He found the slower, more languid movements were easier for him to get lost in. He felt less self-conscious, and that lack of worry allowed him to slip his eyes shut along with his dancing partner as they continued. I wanna go all the way taking out my freak tonight. I wanna show all the dirt I got running through my mind, And then things became very animated, forcing Izuku to open his eyes as his brain and body worked a mile a minute to perform the moves the best he could. For a moment he was so focused he felt as if he were using his quirk to keep up. I wanna go all the way taking out my freak tonight. I wanna show all the dirt I got running through my mind, They slowed down again, arms and head hanging down as they did a few subtle movements until the chorus returned. Shame on me, to knee release uncontrollably. Then it was just the two of them turning towards each other, running past one another before spinning around and pointing an arm in the air as they circled the other. A lot of fast turns, arm sweeps, jumps, and shimmies were thrown in before they finally came to a rest before each other. I wanna go all the way taking out my freak tonight. I wanna show all the dirt I got running through my mind, I wanna go all the way taking out my freak tonight. I wanna show all the dirt I got running through my mind, They ended with their fingertips touching, opposite arms thrown out in front of them while the one not reaching out was bent at their sides. Their chests heaved as they took an air they desperately needed after such a workout. Even with the sweat sticking to their skin after all of their hard work, smiles blossomed on their faces as they gazed at each other feeling accomplished. Looks like you're ready, Midori. Thanks, Mina-kun. His mouth was open to say more, but before he could another voice cut him off. Unbeknownst to them they had received visitors just after they had begun their final performance. What the fuck? Heat hotter than what he'd experienced at the sports festival courtesy of Todoroki's left side crawled up his body. He didn't need to turn towards the entrance to the gymnasium to know who that voice belonged to. Not that he could have forced himself to turn that way anyway, all his mind could scream at him was that Bakugo had seen him dance promiscuously to a Britney Spears song. Would he ever be able to live that down? Probably not, his brain supplied unhelpfully. Midoriya, my dude, you've got moves. Kaminari's voice started from across the room. Lena, what have you been teaching him? Gyro sounded stressed, her face pink. Those moves are not what we talked about you helping him learn yesterday. They're not audience appropriate at all for. Relax, Gyro. I taught him what you wanted, that last routine was just for fun. The members of band team were making their way towards the stage with their instruments in tow, but Izuku couldn't bring himself to greet them at their arrival. He was too busy looking pointedly away from them as he struggled to keep himself from fainting. Even after the talk with Mina he couldn't help but feel completely foolish having danced as animatedly as he had without knowing there had been others watching him, judging him. How was he supposed to face them after? That was amazing. Kaminari reiterated once more when he reached the edge of the stage. I can't believe you went from being a passable dancer to keeping up with Mina in just a few hours. A few hours. Had they really been dancing for that long? What can you say? Mina gloated. He had a great teacher. The fact you incorporated your quirk was creative too, Takoyami added. Wait, he did what? He thought he felt the power of one for all at some point during the routine, but he thought he was just imagining it. I agree, Yaoyorozu said. Perhaps you could incorporate the glowing effect your quirk produces while performing one of your songs. It could be symbolic. That was definitely a thought to think about. Either way, you did look great up there, Midoriya. Gyro complimented. I know it took a lot of hard work and guts, so congratulations. Izuku slowly turned his head to look at them, green eyes wide with disbelief. Ah, Mina cried dramatically while throwing a friendly arm over his shoulders. You guys broke Midori with your words of encouragement. At least he'll finally get that he looks damn good dancing. I swear, he was blushing at every move earlier today. He only freaked out this time when you all surprised him by announcing your arrival. Gyro shrugged, a sheepish look on her face. Sorry about that. We wanted to practice some of the songs in here to see how the room alters the sound so we can plan for it accordingly. Do you guys still need the stage? Nope, it's all yours now. Midori and I worked hard today, so we'll finish up with what we were going to do originally tomorrow. Okay, just make sure not to work him too much. Tomorrow evening I want him to join us to practice singing the songs he'll be performing along with the band. If he's exhausted, he won't be able to sing as well. Mina flashed a grin. I'll be sure not to be too rough with him, she said while holding up her littlest finger. I pinky promise. She was met with a couple groans, but Izuku's attention was on Bakugo. The blonde was regarding him in a way he hadn't noticed before since he'd been too shy to look in his general direction. As it was now, it seemed like he wanted to say something. When the rest of the band team began bringing their equipment up on stage, Izuku found himself nonchalantly offering his childhood friend help. Need a hand with that, Kaken? Red eyes practically glued him to the ground. After a tense moment, Bakugo grunted. Grab the cymbals, nerd. I assume you know where to put them. They worked in silence for a few minutes. It didn't take much time or effort to set up his drum and accessories, and while Gyro and Kaminari worked on getting a couple portable speakers set up, Izuku found himself standing adjacent to Bakugo as he set up his music on a stand. So, the Greenette started. How is practice going so far today? Fine. Gyro and I tried to make the sheet music easy enough to follow despite a lot of the songs having complex parts. I'm sure they aren't trouble for you though. They aren't. Do you like all of the stuff I added to Peace Sign and Singing to the Sky? I made sure to make it cool and challenging like you wanted. The other classes won't know what hit them, he commented brightly. The crowd will sure be amazed too. Duh. Izuku bit his lip, a wave of sorrow hitting him as he finally got the picture. Bakugo didn't want to speak with him right now. He guessed that was all he needed to come down from the high dancing with Mina had created. Okay, well, I guess I'll leave you to practice then. I'm pretty tired after dancing for so long anyway, he said, voice sounding more off than he wished. He tried to keep his energy up so his friend wouldn't notice his change in mood, but it was hard with how perceptive the blonde was. As he turned away, fully intending on leaving without looking back, he felt a calloused hand grip his wrist tightly. Looking over his shoulder, Izuku's heart skipped at the intensity of the gaze Bakugo was giving him. All he could think about was how warmth was traveling up his arm from where the hand gripped his wrist. It was making him dizzy. You looked good earlier, Deku. Was there cotton in his ears? He couldn't have possibly heard correctly. Come again. Like hell I'd repeat myself. Bakugo barked, his face dusted pink from what could be rage or perhaps something else. He released his wrist and faced forwards once more. Now scram so I can warm up. Also make sure you eat something. You and Pinky miss dinner like the over-dedicated idiots you are. Oh okay, Kaken. I will. There's some leftovers in the fridge with your name on it, the blonde added as Izuku began to walk away. Don't waste them. If you do, I'll set your ass on fire. Izuku paused in his departure, knowing immediately that Bakugo must have saved him some of what he'd cooked for dinner. The act of kindness sent butterflies scrambling erratically in his stomach. A smile not unlike that of a lovesick girl enveloped his face. Thanks. Bakugo pointedly ignored him. Izuku didn't care though, he was already floating on cloud 9. Later that night, Izuku found himself sitting in the lounge working on his music that night. He knew he should be thinking about the new ways he was learning to use his quirk after the training he'd been doing with All Might, but something had been nagging him to work on his music ever since dinner. He had gotten some homework done after dinner though. Seeing that along with everything else done throughout the day as an accomplishment, he found himself situated with his laptop and earbuds in the common room. It was nearing 11 at night, but since it was Sarah their curfew was extended to midnight instead of 10. Nearly everyone took advantage of the additional free time on Saturdays. This meant the common space was generally filled, and tonight was no exception. The lounge was filled with fellow students as if gravitating together was natural after their bonding session the night and morning prior. Some, like Gyro, Yaoyorozu, and Kaminari, were relaxing after all the practicing they'd gotten done throughout the day. They sat on the couch watching a silent voice at a reasonable volume. They didn't want to disturb those studying at the table nearby. Mina and Kirishima were trying to get their homework done for the weekend early so they wouldn't have to worry about scrambling to finish it Sunday night, and Uraraka and Hagakure joined them soon after. A few others had also joined watching the movie. Shoji sat in the corner reading, and Todoroki was sitting with Ida in the kitchen brewing tea while discussing further modifications to their hero costumes. Izuku didn't know where Kota, Minta, Sato, or Bakugo were, but he assumed they were busy doing their own thing. That was until the latter suddenly sat down on the couch beside him, the inches of space between them somehow feeling far too wide. Tekken, the Greenette asked more than greeted, pulling an earbud from his ear while pausing the program he was running. Thanks for the leftovers earlier. I can't believe you remembered how much I love Katsudeku. Anyway, how are you? The blonde grunted. He seemed like he was debating on answering when he suddenly leaned over, his shoulder brushing Izuku's as his eyes fell on the computer screen. You working on more music? Izuku nodded. He pulled out the other earbud and smiled, pointing to a few layers of sound files placed one on top of the other. Yep, Mina-kun wants me to pick some songs to practice dancing to tomorrow, and there was one I started a while back that I thought would be fun to design a dance to. I was planning on recording a rough version of the lyrics before going to bed tonight. Now listening to it though, I don't know if I'll be able to. Why not? Blinking in mild confusion, Izuku had to ignore the surprise that came with Bakugo seeming to be genuinely interested. Well, there are some parts I have to sing pretty loudly in order for the right notes to be hit. I don't want to wake up anyone else on the floor though. I think I'll just have to make a dance to the instrumental without words." Bakugo made a noise as if contemplating something. A moment later, Izuku found himself without a laptop before being yanked off of the couch by his arm. "If you're so concerned about being too loud, then record it in my room right now while most of the idiots are still up. Even if anyone else on the floor comes upstairs before you're done, they're used to a bit of noise." "Yeah," Kirishima shouted from where he sat at the table nearby. "Was everyone eavesdropping? Baku bro shouts at me at all hours of the day, and he shouts at germs whenever he brushes his teeth too. We're all used to noise, so feel free to sing to your heart's content." "Shut up, shitty hair." "Excuse me, but could you both quiet down?" Gyro spoke up. The movie was currently paused, and several students were looking between Bakugo and Kirishima impatiently. "We're halfway through the movie, but we can't hear it with all of the yelling." Kirishima apologized immediately, going back to his homework, while Bakugo responded with a quick whatever. It was then Izuku was ordered at a regular volume to follow his childhood friend. Kaken, I don't know if recording in your room is a good idea." "Why the hell not?" He raised his voice just as they were out of the shared living space. "I need some stuff from my room, first of all, and second of all I don't know if I'm comfortable recording with you there lie." "Oh, so you can record in front of Earphone Girl but not me. Tough luck, nerd." The blonde had them exit the staircase only after going up one flight. "Which room is yours?" "We'll grab your stuff and then head up to my room." "I guess I can grab my headphones and mic," Izuku acquiesced. "But, Kaken, can I ask why you care if I get it done or not? I didn't think you really cared about anything I do, unless..." He trailed off as he unlocked his room, turning to meet red eyes with a grin slowly forming on his face. "You want to hear me sing, don't you?" His statement was met with a shove, sending the shorter tumbling onto his butt on the floor of his room with a small yelp. Once he collected himself, he couldn't help but laugh at the enraged yet embarrassed look on his rival's face. "Like hell I want to hear your crappy voice, Deku. It just pisses me off that you do all of these things for others but won't go out of your way to do something for yourself. Now hurry up and grab your music shit. Looking at your creepy All Might shrine for a minute longer is going to make me hurl." Izuku shook his head. As he got up to grab what he needed, Bakugo stepped into the room and surveyed the decor with a look of disinterest. They were both silent for several seconds as Izuku debated if he needed anything else. Just as he was about to say he was ready to go, however, he noticed Bakugo walking up to his bookshelf. "I can't believe you kept this junk." His voice was soft, much more so than Izuku remembered hearing. It was only when the greenette turned around to see why his friend was so subdued that he realized why. Bakugo was holding an old All Might figurine from their childhood, and his eyes were glued to a small picture frame that held a photo of them from preschool. They were poised with their opposite arms in the air and fingers forming peace signs, large grins on their faces as their arms closest to one another were swung around each other's shoulders. The picture had been taken a few days before Bakugo's quirk had manifested. The toy, on the other hand, had been a present given to him by Bakugo himself. It was his favorite toy as a kid, holding sentimental value because it had been given to him by his best friend. "Of course I kept them," Izuku answered as he made his way to stand beside the other. "The toy was a gift, and that picture reminds me of good times. I would never get rid of either of those things." "I don't understand you." "Huh?" The blonde turned, frustration radiating off him as he glared at Izuku. "Why would you keep this stuff all these years even though I bullied you? I was unfair to you, treating you like shit when all you were trying to do was reach out to me. I misunderstood your intentions for over 10 years, Deku. What kind of hero treats someone like I did, regardless of the reason? Maybe the villains were right to assume I'd be a good addition to their dumb team." Don't talk about yourself like that, Kaken. You're not a villain, and nothing about you is villainous." "Really?" Bakugo said incredulously, a hand gripping the All Might toy tightly. "I told you to jump off of the roof. How is that not villainous?" Izuku shook his head. "A villain would throw someone off of a roof. A person who made a mistake would tell someone to jump. Some huge-ass mistake. I knew you were too stubborn to ever give up on your dream as a hero, so you wouldn't have thought about it anyway, but that doesn't mean what I said was okay." "No, it wasn't. You know that though, don't you? And you'd never tell anyone else to do that. Not someone who isn't a villain, I guess." "Kaken. Okay, fine. I wouldn't say something that shitty again to anyone." Izuku sighed, a weight seeming to leave his shoulders. This was progress. "You know," the greenette continued gently as he took the toy from the other, "you never once stopped being my friend. I promised I would throw away this toy if I thought we would never be able to stand side by side. I kept it, because I was waiting for you to finally realize I wasn't trying to belittle you and your accomplishments. If I were you I would have given up on my sorry ass long ago." The smile Izuku sent at the blonde caught him off guard. "When have I ever given up on anything or anyone? Besides, giving up on you would have been like giving up on a part of myself." For a moment they both stood there frozen. "Oh no, what did I just say?" Izuku thought. "I bet that sounded really, really weird. What if I've scared him away for good?" Things were finally getting better too. Then, as if Endeavor had finally admitted his undying love for All Might, Bakugo laughed. "Seriously, Deku, you're such a goddamn sap. Wait, I didn't mean it like, whatever. Just grab your stuff and let's go." We don't have all night. In order of appearance, Toxic by Britney Spears. I Wanna Go by Britney Spears. Mentioned, If You Seek Amy by Britney Spears. Hit Me Baby One More Time by Britney Spears. Getting ready to record with Bakugo sitting next to him was absolutely nerve-wracking. It had been roughly 10 minutes since they'd entered his room to begin with. While Izuku had preoccupied himself with taking in how the room practically screamed Kaken, Bakugo shut the door harshly before barking at him to get a move on. Izuku didn't take long to get set up after he'd been given his laptop back. Only a minute was needed to sit down on the end of his friend's bed with his laptop resting on his legs, headphones in place on his head, and the small microphone that extended from them just in front of his face. The program was pulled up on the screen too. The blonde sat down on the bed next to him, feigning disinterest, as if Izuku could be fooled that he wasn't listening just because he was browsing the internet with his phone. When enough awkward silence had passed, Izuku simply staring at the screen with the arrow hovering over the green button that would start recording, Bakugo finally let his phone fall onto his lap with a growl. What are you waiting for, Deku? Start singing or whatever. Oh, I'm sorry, he drawled back. I thought you were too busy instigating fights in the comments section of HeroTube to pay attention to me. The other was affronted. What the hell? Did you just ask me? Also, I haven't done that since middle school, you damn nerd. Sorry, he replied, serious this time. I'm just nervous. Why? Well, you either get mad at or belittle nearly everything I do. I do not. You used to tell me my breathing was pissing you off, and that I should stop doing it sometime. I never, shit. Okay, maybe I said that a long time ago, but I didn't. This was last Tuesday, Kaken. You know I say a lot of things, okay. He let out a frustrated groan. I don't mean most of them. Shitty hair and the others in the so-called Baka squad. Don't you dare tell them I acknowledged its existence? No, I talk shit. As for your singing, I'm not going to make fun of you. I haven't said anything bad about that yet, have I? Izuku shook his head. Well, no, but even so I'm a bit self-conscious. You promise not to say anything mean if I record here. I'm going to have to repeat lines multiple times in order to get it right, and after that I need to splice the recordings together, layer them, and add effects in order to get a good final cut. You'll be hearing the same lines over and over again. Are you sure you're not going to get mad at me for annoying you? Of course not. I might not sing or record stuff in my free time like you and Earphone Girl, but I still get that it takes a lot of trial and error. Just get to it so we can both get to bed at a decent hour tonight, okay? Green eyes lingering on the blonde beside him for just a moment longer, he relented. He adjusted the headset one more time before stealing his finger over the trackpad. All right, try not to make too much noise then. The microphone will pick up any sounds you make. I know what a microphone does, dumbass. I wasn't. Izuku sighed, his hands flinging into the air helplessly as he gave up trying to communicate casually with the other boy. I'm just going to start recording now. Finally, ignoring the remark, the greenette pressed the bottom. Immediately his left hand grasped the mic so it was just how far he wanted it from his mouth. His right hand hovered over the trackpad on the laptop, poised to stop this recording and start another one in succession. The music began with 5 sharp notes, the power in Izuku's voice catching Bakugo by surprise before he could even get out the first 2 lines. Hearing the boy's voice without any context was strange, but interesting. I keep my ideals with me. My fate is mine. Izuku's singing style was unique compared to the other songs he'd sung before. The way he held the last word while fluctuating his voice was satisfying, if that made sense. Sadly, he recorded himself singing the 2 lines several more times before continuing on. Bakugo couldn't bring himself to tell the other the first take was good enough. Time to pay for all of my mistakes, Izuku sang quickly, that I made without an ounce of shame. I moved on and threw my life away. Thank God I got out while I could. I nearly gave it all away. His voice dropped down to an unknown and empty fate. Dead eyes that know the price that I paid. And if they could only just focus on today, maybe they'll shine. He stopped singing, taking in a deep breath as he pressed the red button that would simultaneously end and save the recording. I'm not very good at singing super fast, the younger admitted sheepishly as he prepared to do a second take. It sounded decent to me. Izuku seemed skeptical to believe him. As it took between 5 and 10 more minutes before he felt he could go on to the next lines. His eyes slipped shut as he pressed record, all of his focus going into getting the words out the way he wanted. What's going on? A brand new life, but I still feel left behind. Every day there's something off. Is this what I wanted? He ended the recording there, because for once he was satisfied with it right away. What's going on? Is this a game? 'Cause nobody else is quite the same. The possibilities have opened up. Squinting at his computer, he practiced the last line half a dozen times before deciding on how he wanted to sing the last word. The entire time Bakugo simply listened. When Izuku continued, he drew himself up more on the bed before warning Bakugo he was going to get a bit louder. He sang into the mic, his other hand waving in the air in front of him as if he were directing an orchestra. Dreaming. My mind rewinds. Diction was being focused on heavily here. Every word was said exactly how it was supposed to be, a few words even choppy in order to get the syllables differentiated. I just can't feel the whole inside of my heart, so let's get out, escape from the dark of the night. He sang the word night just how he sang the word mine in the beginning, and Bakugo found himself nodding at the parallelism. It sounded great if he were being honest. Not that he'd say it out loud though. The future, Izuku continued after a few retries, unknown seems to twist and distort itself unless we look straight forward. I'm sick of lying to myself. Got to stand up straight and fight. I keep my ideals with me. Each time cause dreams and love, so dangerous, the fuel that we need to light the fire. The lungs are ringing out now. He sucked in a quick breath, both hands on his headset as he sang out the last line. My fate is mine. Once that line was done, Izuku busied himself with going through each of the several dozen files he'd saved in his recording session. As he did this, Bakugo found himself splaying himself across the bed behind Izuku. He stared up at the ceiling, merely listening to Izuku mumble about which sound file sounded the best. The brunette picked the one he was happiest with from what he had available after filtering out the recordings. Then there were the added effects. Finally, after nearly an hour had passed, Izuku took his headset off. He turned around to see Bakugo lying down on his back. The blonde was using one arm as a pillow while the other rested on his stomach. Red eyes met green no sooner than Izuku glanced at his friend, something tugging at Bakugo's gut when he noticed the way the other way kept looking at the part of his torso that was exposed due to his shirt being pulled up a bit. The blonde found himself smirking. Did you turn around to ogle me or tell me you finished your song, Deku? Izuku's face lit up scarlet. Ogle? I wasn't. Sure you weren't. What's the song called, anyway? It's titled Odd Future, and I was not ogling you. You're a shitty liar. I can't believe I'm the only one that knows the secret about your quirk and all might with how much of a crap job you do at trying to covering for yourself. Izuku hid his face in his hands. His childhood friend was too much for him sometimes. Kaken, he whined. You're being a jerk. When am I not a jerk? This sobered the other up, a serious look on his face at the question. Don't say things like that. You're not a jerk all of the time, so don't think that way. I was only joking. Bakugo really didn't care much for this conversation. He sat up, causing Izuku to move so he wasn't sitting knee to knee with him. The change in position didn't get him to drop anything though. I'm serious, Kaken. Time for a diversion then, the blonde thought. If he let the brunette keep talking, he could end up being coerced into talking about his feelings, and like hell was he going to let that happen. Why do you still call me that? Izuku blinked. What do you mean? You still call me Kaken. You only called me that when we were kids because you couldn't pronounce the Tsu sound in my first name. Even when you learned how to speak properly, you never switched to calling me by my first name instead, our falling out aside. Why? Well, you've always been Kaken to me. It would feel weird calling you something else. It's like how you still call me Deku despite us being on better terms now. Bakugo rolled his eyes. It's your hero name, for one, and Round Face among other heroes calls you it too. What, are you telling me you want me to call you Izuku now? They both went quiet for a second. For Izuku, hearing his name from Bakugo sounded strangely intimate. It seemed the blonde was thinking on a similar train of thought, because he winced a second later as if embarrassed. Actually, I get your point. I'll stick to calling you Deku. You can still call me that childish nickname, and I won't even complain. Are you sure you don't want me to call you, Izuku hesitated, Katsuki instead? The blonde shuddered at hearing his name. For some reason it sounded wrong, not coming out of his mother, father, or Auntie Inko's mouth. Hearing it from Izuku was not strange, but rather oddly private in context. I am very sure. Yeah, Izuku agreed. That was really weird. Yep. They sat there for a minute longer, neither of them speaking until Izuku silently pulled the cord connecting his headset to the computer out. His computer made a sound alerting them that sound would now be coming out of the computer's speakers. Do you want to hear the final version then? Bakugo had to work to hide his excitement. Of course he wanted to hear the final cut after sitting there for over an hour. I guess so. Well, I can just go if you don't want to hear it, Izuku said coyly, a small smile slipping onto his face at the outraged look on his friend's face. I'm kidding. Here, I'll play it right now. He was true to his word. It was more pop than techno, was Bakugo's first thought. He had been trying to figure out the genre of the song since the beginning. In comparison to the other songs written and sung by the brunette, it was much different. The beat and speed of the song were faster for one. It didn't sound unpleasant though. Coupled with the percussion and piano tracks in the background, Bakugo was rather impressed that he was so capable of writing music of diverse genres. The sound effects were another thing. Some of them made Izuku's voice sound a bit distorted at times, which Bakugo found a bit unappealing in his opinion, but he wasn't going to tell the other how to write his music. Mostly he didn't want to have to explain that he found other boys' voice best when it wasn't altered. As the song ended, Izuku looked at the blonde expectantly. It's good. The brunette cocked his head. That's all you have to say. Is there anything else you want me to say? The drum parts were pretty sick, I guess. I'm not a critic or crazy about analysis like you, nerd. I'm not going to write you a novel about how good your song is. I didn't ask for a novel. I just feel like simply saying it is good is sort of a lackluster response. Bakugo glared at him. Lackluster. I can call it shitty techno-pop instead, but I don't like lying. It sounded good, alright. I like what you did with those held words at the beginning, middle, and end. The instrumental you put together was excellent. I could do less with the sound effects, but you're the music artist, not me. Izuku blinked at the input. Then he smiled, which sent some unknown tingling feeling spurring to life in Bakugo's chest. Thank you, Kaken. Whatever. You recorded your song, so either keep working on your music, practice your singing, or leave. Is that your way of asking me to sing something else for you, or are you trying to get me to leave? I have no clue what you're talking about, Deku. Sing or leave. It's entirely your choice. Happiness exuded from the greenette despite the way Bakugo spit out those words. It made sense the blonde was too stubborn to ask for something he wanted that could be seen as uncharacteristic of him. He had an image of pride and power to retain after all. Izuku could humor him this one time, he supposed. He pulled up Hero Tube. Do you like Breaking Benjamin? Who doesn't? The greenette smiled, pulling up the karaoke version of a song a moment later. I love his music. I'm going to sing my favorite of his, he explained. If you know his stuff though, then feel free to join me. I don't sing. Whatever you say, Kaken. A moment later a soft, familiar guitar tune started up. Bakugo watched with rapt attention as Izuku began bobbing his head just a bit. By the time he was supposed to start singing, his eyelids had already slipped closed. Will the faithful be rewarded when we come to the end? He started quietly. Will I miss the final warning from the lie that I have lived? Is there anybody calling? I can see the soul within, and I am not worthy. His voice sounded emotional, like he was referring to something else. I am not worthy of this. Are you with me after all? Why can't I hear you? Are you with me through it all? Then why can't I feel you? Now it felt like he was singing directly to Bakugo. The blonde didn't have much time to think about it though. He was too swept up in the chorus that came afterwards. Stay with me, Izuku sang languidly. Don't let me go, because there's nothing left at all. Stay with me, don't let me go, until the ashes of Eden fall. It amazed Bakugo how quickly some people seem to get lost in music. As he watched Izuku sing, it was like watching someone else take over. The timid demeanor he often gave off disappeared in an instant, and the boy looked so at ease. Every word he sang was sung with the utmost care, and passion permeated every syllable. Bakugo had liked the song before, but hearing Izuku sing it made him wonder if this wasn't his favorite song by the artist too. Will the darkness fall upon me when the air is growing thin? The greenette thought of the looming threat of evil and frowned. Will the light begin to pull me to its everlasting will? He's been close to death a few times before. Still, even as he remembered the fear that he'd felt, he couldn't help but feel more scared for those he cared about. The sludge villain and stain incidents came to mind. I can hear the voices haunting. There were too many to count. There is nothing left to fear, and I am still calling. I am still calling to you. Are you with me after all? This part always reminded him of Bakugo after their falling out growing up. Why can't I hear you? Are you with me through it all? Then why can't I feel you? Stay with me, don't let me go, because there's nothing left at all. Stay with me, don't let me go, until the ashes of Eden fall. There was a break in the song for an instrumental, to which Bakugo also allowed himself to close his eyes as well. He always enjoyed the ending part of the song the best. He particularly loved the overlapping lyrics at the end, but Izuku wouldn't be able to sing them by himself. Maybe he could. Don't let go, Izuku sang softly. He gradually grew louder each time he repeated the words. Don't let go, 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 why can't I hear you? Stay with me, don't let me go, because there's nothing left at all. Stay with me, don't let me go, until the ashes of Eden fall. As he took in a quick breath for the last few lines, Izuku heard the other boy's voice beat him to the main part. His eyes snapped open in shock as he forced himself to take the other part instead. Heaven above me, take my hand, the blonde sang at the same time Izuku sang stay with me, don't let me go. They came back together to sing out shine until there's nothing left but you. They repeated this one more time before the song came to an end. It was only then did the greenette open his mouth to voice what he was thinking. Kaken, you've been holding out on everyone. What are you talking about? You can sing. Anyone can sing. Well, anyone but Minta. Short creep screeches like a dying vulture. That's mean, Kaken. Izuku shook his head to clear it, not wanting to get distracted. That's not what I meant though. Your voice is a lot less rough than I thought it would be singing. It's deep and husky, but in a good way. You also have good control with your pitch. Your singing was really good because of that, he went on. Suddenly it was like a light bulb had gone off in his head. Do you think you sang this one part of Singing to the Sky for me? I don't really like how it turned out in the recording I gave everyone. Gyro was having trouble getting it right too when we practiced it. I can't really get my voice as low as the part demands, but you. Nope. But, not happening. You don't have to decide right now. Not doing it, Bakugo said with his arms crossed and determined smirk on his face. Something about riling Izuku up was just so entertaining to him. Just think about it for a day or two. It's only a few lines, so it'd be easy to learn. I highly doubt my answer will change. Kaken, he whined again. Humor me, please. Shit, Bakugo thought with some horror, he's using those damned puppy eyes. This is completely unfair. Ugh, fine. Stop whining already, you stupid Deku. Okay. All of a sudden Izuku was all sunshine and rainbows again, and the blonde realized the other boy had been playing him with the fake tears that had began forming in his eyes a few seconds earlier. That conniving little shit. Anyway, Izuku continued after letting out a yawn, it's already well past curfew. Are you sure you don't want me to leave so you can go to bed? It's not that late. You don't have to go yet. You're not tired. No, you can stay. A look of realization entered Izuku's green-eyed gaze. After readjusting so that he was sitting with his back up against the head of the bed, Bakugo silently shuffling until they were shoulder to shoulder, he nonchalantly moved his laptop over so half of it was on Bakugo's lap as well. Okay then, I'm going to sing a few more songs by this group then, just for practice. Pull up the acoustic version of Without You, the blonde found himself saying. Your voice would go decently with it. Sure thing, Kaken. With that, Izuku continued singing, Bakugo joining in every now and then, which sent butterflies fluttering in the other's stomach. They sang until they eventually found themselves falling asleep against each other, Izuku's laptop going to sleep not long after. The next morning, when Izuku woke up, he found he wasn't in his room. A spike of panic went through him. His entire body tensed as he prepared to move away from Bakugo before the other could wake, but it appeared it was already too late for that. A calloused hand grabbed his forearm. Calm down, nerd. It's barely 5 in the morning. Bakugo's voice was thick with sleep. There was no anger behind his words, yet they did not lack authority. Sorry, Izuku apologized as he quickly shut down his laptop properly. It was a miracle it wasn't dead. Thank goodness for sleep mode, he guessed. It just startled me when I realized I wasn't in my room. I didn't mean to wake you. You didn't wake me up. I've been awake for 20 minutes, uncomfortable as hell with your head commandeering my shoulder. Sleeping upright any longer was going to leave a crick in my neck, so I just stayed up. The brunette tilted his head in confusion. Why didn't you just wake me up then? I would have understood. Bakugo shook his head. I'm not weak, Deku. I dealt with it. Now that you're awake though, put your computer and junk away and shut off the light. I'm tired as F. An appropriately timed yawn cut him off before he could finish. Oh, okay. He couldn't help but feel a bit dejected as he rubbed the sleep from his eyes. His entire body was begging to stay in bed. Be that as it were, he still got up with his belongings and flicked off the light. He was just about to let himself out when he heard a groan of annoyance. What do you think you're doing? It's too early in the morning for you to leave. If someone catches you going back to your room, they're going to want to know where you were. And I swear if someone catches on that you fell asleep here, I will not be putting up with the stupid questions that'll follow. Put your stuff down and come back over here. Izuku was extremely confused. Kaken, wouldn't it be less risky for me to leave now? Surely nobody is awake at this hour. Shitty hair is up at the ass crack of dawn. If he sees you, I'll never hear the end of it. Just stay here until later on in the day when I know everyone else on the floor will be at dance practice. Pinky said she'd meet you at the gymnasium at what time? After lunch. She told everyone to meet in there at 9 for group practice though, which means I should probably be there too. Forget it. Tell her you accidentally slept in. But I should really. Deku, letting out an exaggerated sigh, Izuku gave up on arguing with the blonde in favor of setting his stuff down on the other boy's desk. I'll stay like you asked, but can you at least give me a blanket and pillow? Your carpet is kind of thin and... He trailed off when he heard Bakugo get up. A moment later Izuku was grabbed by the collar of his shirt and all but thrown back into bed. With the moonlight streaming in the window, he could make out Bakugo's red eyes glaring at him in the dimness. Shut up and go back to sleep, he demanded. You can borrow a pillow, but if you so much as hog 1 extra centimeter of my blanket, I'm making you sleep on the floor. Mention this to anyone and you die. With it, the blonde crawled into bed beside a flustered Izuku, turning away so he was facing the wall instead of the other boy. It took another few seconds for the other boy's brain to begin working again. When it did, however, he settled beneath the blanket and forced himself to sleep on his side facing away from the center of the bed. This is happening. This is really happening. We're sharing a blanket and everything, and he's so warm I can't even. He forced himself to take a deep breath. If he didn't stop freaking out, then he wouldn't be getting any more sleep tonight. After doing some mental exercises to stop himself from having a mini almost panic attack, he felt his eyelids growing heavy. It barely took a couple more minutes before he vaguely felt his limbs going slack. Sleep overcame him all at once then, and Izuku would wake up later having dreamt about what it would have been like to close the gap between him and the owner of the bed. Several hours later, the next day would be a busy one for Izuku. Once he was finally allowed to leave Bakugo's room, he quickly grabbed something to eat before getting in some of his routine exercise and a bit of quirk training in the woods. By the time he finished with that, squeezing in a 5-minute shower before everyone gathered in the dorm for lunch, it was already time for his second dance lesson with Mina. Cue up some songs that you feel comfortable dancing to, Midori. Mina instructed the moment he entered the gymnasium. She handed him her phone once he was on the stage with her. It was bright pink with little alien stickers on it, along with a few stray sparkly star stickers as well. Make sure to pick a mix of genre. I want to see your creative skills shine today along with your newfound dancing skills. He couldn't help but smile widely at her enthusiasm. It was contagious. Sure thing, Mina-kun. Several song picks later, it was time for the warm-up. I don't know all of these songs, but from what I do recognize, this seems like a good playlist. Since you're going to be singing later tonight, we'll mostly just work on improvising choreography. Near the end I will have you sing along with the music though. It will give you a feel for how much you can realistically move without ruining your singing. After that it was just Izuku standing center stage while Mina readied her speaker. Here we go, Midori. Show me what you've got. And so he did. There are times when I don't know where I stand, her speaker blasted. You make me feel like I'm a boy and not a man. There are times when you don't give me a smile. I lie awake at night and worry for a while. Izuku started dancing to the song with a simple repetition of side shuffles and spins. It was nothing much to look at, the moves beginner level for sure, but this song screamed at him for simple, fluid movements. It's okay, cause I know you shine even on a rainy day and I can find your halo. He brought his hands above his head mid-shuffle in order to create a circle, or halo, falling to his knees in one slow motion during the next words, guides me to wherever you fall. If you need a hand to hold, he carried out a calculated stretch forward that allowed him to stand back on his feet. In the next moment he walked quickly forward, almost skipping as he reached a hand out. I'll come running, because you and I won't part till we die. You should know he came to a stop, dropping his head to the side and closing his eyes as he made a heart with his hands and placed it just under his left collarbone, see eye to eye, heart to heart. During the break he found himself shuffling around with a few spins thrown in. He continued dancing in his self-created box until he heard the verse he was waiting for. There are times when I cry 'cause you shed no tears. Your mind's so far away but your body's right here. There are times when I just walked out your door. He added the hug move Mina had taught him for the remaining line, and thought I'd never get to see you anymore. He repeated his last routine for the repeated chorus. It's okay, 'cause I know you shine even on a rainy day and I can find your halo, guides me to wherever you fall. If you need a hand to hold I'll come running, because you and I won't part till we die. You should know we see eye to eye, heart to heart. Whoa, Izuku stilled completely, wrapping his arms around himself loosely before beginning to sway as the instrumental picked back up. Whoa, oh sometimes, whoa, whoa. He swept his arms out to either side, a smile lighting up his face as he spun around the stage as if he were dancing joyously with another person. Wherever you fall, if you need a hand to hold, I'll come running, because you and I won't part till we die. You should know, we see eye to eye, heart to heart. Then he was bending down on one knee, both hands splayed over his heart. I can find your halo, guides me to wherever you fall. Loud clapping met his ears the moment the song ended, sending a wave of pride through him. He was so glad she liked it. Great job. I really enjoyed the flow in that one. Do you need a breather before going into the next song? He shook his head, adrenaline making his body buzz with a nervous excitement. No thank you. I think I'm ready to go straight into the next one. Mina grinned. That's just what I like to hear. And with that she skipped to the next pick. High dive into frozen waves where the past comes back to life. Fight fear for the selfish pain, it was worth it every time. Hold still right before we crash 'cause we both know how this ends. The clock ticks till it breaks your glass and I drown in you again. This song had Izuku flowing directly into one move after another. He never stayed in one position for long, his body pulling him somewhere else at nearly every other word. 'Cause you are the piece of me I wish I didn't need. Chasing relentlessly, still fight and I don't know why. He put his arms in the air briefly. As he quickly got the idea for what he was about to use next, he utilized many of the moves Mina had taught him the day prior. If our love is tragedy, why are you my remedy? If our love's insanity, why are you my clarity? If our love is tragedy, why are you my remedy? If our love's insanity, why are you my clarity? From where Mina was watching she hummed, impressed. She thought she might have to ask him to up the complexity or speed of his moves just to see if he was capable after a day of rest, but it seemed that wouldn't be needed. He was honestly already more than prepared to come up with a few simple stage moves to add some flair to his festival performances. Walk on through a red parade and refuse to make amends. It cuts deep through our ground and makes us forget all common sense. Izuku nearly faltered as he found his mind wandering to Bakugo once again. Don't speak as I try to leave 'cause we both know what we'll choose. If you pull then I'll push too deep and I'll fall right back to you. He nearly messed up another move when he realized he'd been thinking about his childhood friend since the beginning of the first song, his crush on his friend reveling and being at the forefront of his attention after last night. How could it not have flared back up full force after he'd slept in the target of his affection's bed? 'Cause you are the piece of me I wish I didn't need. Chasing relentlessly, still fight and I don't know why. He knew they were rivals, but things were different now. They didn't fight senselessly after that night where the truth about All Might and his quirk was shared. Still, memories of the past few years of torment were hard to forget even when his heart betrayed him. If our love is tragedy, why are you my remedy? Izuku was in love with Bakugo. That much was plain and simple no matter how much his mind berated his heart for feeling this way. What could he do though? The boy was a constant in his life despite the strain their friendship had gone through. He admired him to the utmost degree, more than All Might even. If our love's insanity, why are you my clarity? He knew he wore rose-colored glasses sometimes when it came to the explosive blonde. However, he was aware of the flaws in his character when it mattered most. Every time he imagined telling his crush how he felt, fear reared its ugly head and squashed his desire flat. Part of him was scared to lose the friendship they had recently gained back. That same part was terrified Bakugo would react with cruelty or anger, and that was something he wasn't sure if he could deal with at this point in his pining. Why are you my clarity? Why are you my remedy? Why are you my clarity? Why are you my remedy? Maybe he was being too soft again. Uraraka and Ada had both mentioned how he wore his heart on his sleeve, and how letting his emotions lead his actions might someday lead to putting someone in danger. Danger could lead to pain. Was Bakugo worth his pain? After all of the burns, scratches, and bruises Izuku gathered during his childhood, let alone the emotional trauma he'd suffered, his brain was telling him Bakugo wasn't worth more than the dust on his shoes. On the other hand, Izuku's heart was much more forgiving, optimistic, and arguably a bit masochistic. His heart screamed for him to try. It wanted him to be happy, and if being happy meant going after his childhood friend romantically, it would only waver once it was given a definite denial. Curse him for being such what had Hagakure called him before, a cinnamon roll. Curse him for being such a sweet pastry. If our love is tragedy, why are you my remedy? If our love's insanity, why are you my clarity? By the time the song came to an end, Izuku was ready for a small break. Not because he was physically tired, but because he needed a brain break. He listened to Mina gush about his moves while draining a third of his water bottle. "You're doing amazing, Midori. I think what we're going to do next is do some skipping around with your picks though. There's no need for you to dance to an entire song when experimenting with different rhythms. I don't want to getting exhausted when you have practiced with the rest of the dance team in a few hours and with band team tonight." Izuku made a noise of affirmation, walking back to the center of the stage with a slightly clearer mind. He needed to focus on dancing. Remember, this time you're going to sing along with the song to see how you can handle dancing on top of it. Correction, he needed to focus on singing and dancing. The singing part is honestly more important than dancing in your case, she continued with a slight pout. Since the movements you'll be doing are more for aesthetic, you being the lead singer of your songs is more paramount to the performance. Still, I want you to try and see what your limits are by putting dancing slightly ahead of singing during our lesson. You can put singing before dancing later tonight when you practice with the band team. Okay, Mina-kun. With that, Izuku was forced to think up a spur-of-the-moment dance routine for every song Mina chose, attempting to sing along all the while. "I want to see you run anywhere you want." The brunette internally groaned. He liked the song, yes, but he didn't particularly sing it since it was difficult for him to match the right pitch of the singer. Never let the darkness hold you back, no fear of getting lost. As for body movements, he stuck to staying in the same spot and relying more on his arms at first. "I want to see you fly way beyond the sun. Anything you're ever gonna dream, I pray that it will come." As the first hint of chorus began, he attempted to sing while doing a maneuver that would bring him to the floor. Unfortunately, it ended with him messing up the lyrics, which Mina couldn't hear with how loud the music was around them, but she could tell by the way he stopped singing for a moment. "But if you ever fall down straight to the bottom, and you can't get back where you started, any place, anytime, you gotta know for you I'll fight." He repeated a similar routine for the next part as he did in the beginning. This time he threw in some head and shoulder rolls. "Where you wanna go? I'd love to take you there. Wish that I could make the road easy, I wish that life was fair. Don't want to see you cry even when it rains, and I hope you don't forget this. You were born for better things." Instead of trying to do a move that mimicked falling, he decided to walk forwards instead. He worked in a few moves that brought him stepping backwards again and reaching his arms out in a motion similar to grabbing something. "But if you ever fall down straight to the bottom, and you can't get back where you started, with no strength to stand, I'm gonna reach for your hand. When the going gets rough, right when it's hurting, I will be there to help bear the burden. Any place, anytime, you gotta know for you I'll fight." He had his hands flat and arms held in the air as he repeated the line with more volume. "Any place, anytime, you gotta know for you I'll fight." And then the music changed, and Izuku groaned out loud. "Mina-kun, you said we'd use my music today." The pink-skinned hero in training grinned while Long Shot by Kelly Clarkson played from the speaker. "I felt like you needed more variety after all. Also, we are using your music today. I didn't put this song on the playlist." "You didn't, but it is on your phone." She giggled as she held said object in the air for him to see. "You really need to learn to lock your phone better, silly. Your password was super easy to guess. All Might is seriously the first and only thing I tried, and I got it immediately. Interesting taste in music, by the way. You've got all sorts of artists on here I wouldn't have pegged you listening to." Mina-kun. Alright, I'll shut up now. You're still doing the songs I picked though. How about this one instead?" When a familiar Fall Out Boy song began, Izuku relaxed slightly. He didn't mind this choice. "I was just an only child of the universe," he sang as he walked forward. "And then I found you." Cue left arm sweep, an identical one with his right following just after, "and then I found you. You are the sun and I am just the planets." He brought his arms and hands us up the air before doing 2 slow spins, spinning around you, spinning around you. "You were too good to be true." He pointed forwards, gold-plated. "But what's inside you?" Adding some turns and shimmies in. "But what's inside you? I know this whole damn city thinks it needs you." His voice grew a bit firmer as he threw his hands up, as if gesticulating to the world before him. He put them down a moment later when he sang the next lyric though. Instead he pointed at himself, eyes closing for just a moment as he let his head tilt to one side. "But not as much as I do, as much as I do." Yeah. Jumping up with a clap, he moved left, right, forwards and backwards while throwing in arm movements. They weren't super complex since he was trying to balance out his singing and dancing, but he found it worked rather well. "'Cause you're the last of a dying breed. Write our names in the wet concrete. I wonder if your therapist knows everything about me. I'm here in search of your glory. There's been a million before me. That ultra kind of love you never walk away from. You're just the last of the real ones." The line is repeated multiple times before moving on to the next verse. "I am a collapsing star with tunnel vision, but only for you, but only for you." He fought off the obvious thoughts trying to make themselves known. While the song had used to remind him of All Might, which it still did to a lesser extent, it had become associated with the blonde not too long after their emotional fight outside a while back. "My head is stripped just like a screw that's been tightened too many times when I think of you, when I think of you." His arms wrapped around his head loosely and dramatically before he dropped them and threw them outwards. "I will shield you from the waves. If they find you, I will protect you. I will protect you. Just tell me. I am the only one, even if it's not true. Even if it's not true, yeah. Just as he prepared to go into another movement, Izuku was hyper-aware of the door to the gymnasium bursting open. "Yo, guys, I have a message from Mirio." The song continued playing as Mina and Izuku curiously met the red-haired hero in training halfway across the room. They didn't need to ask again about the message though, because as soon as they were in front of one another, Kirishima broke the grin on his face to speak. "Mirio and Iri-chan just stopped by the dorm to tell us they were going to be with Mirio's class for a while. Apparently he got called in to help with some of their preparations for the festival. He wanted to know if we wanted to spend some time with Iri-chan after dinner for a few hours while he visits with Nejire and Tamaki. I told him yes, of course, but I just wanted to let you both know as well." Mina clapped her hands excitedly. "Oh, I love Iri-chan. We're horn buddies, you know. She's going to have so much fun watching us dance and listening to the band team tonight." Realization dawned in Kirishima's eyes. "Oh yeah, that's right. The dance team is practicing on the gymnasium floor tonight since it's supposed to rain." "Yep, the band team will be having their own practice on the stage while that's going on, so Iri-chan can listen and watch everything from the stage too." "Awesome. I'll talk to the guys on the staging team about tagging along. We haven't really seen or heard any of you practice much since we've been so busy with our stuff." Izuku listened to them chat for a few seconds while he let the news sink in. He was happy Iri would be with them tonight, but part of him was a little stressed. He wanted her to have fun while she was there with them. Sitting there and watching them was bound to be a little entertaining, yet he felt like something was lacking. He wanted something special for the girl. "Hey," the brunette found himself saying. There was a telltale spark in his eyes that his friends knew meant that he had an idea. "After we get some practicing in tonight, do you think everyone would be okay with a little dance party?" Kirishima and Mina looked at each other briefly before blinking at him in shock. Then, all at once, their smiles were all teeth. "Dance party. In order of appearance, Sam Luff cover of Odd Future by Uverworld. Ashes of Eden by Breaking Benjamin. Heart to Heart by James Blunt. Clarity by ZFD, Foxes. I'll Fight by Daughtry. The Last of the Real Ones by Fallout Boy. Mentioned, Without You by Breaking Benjamin. Long Shot by Kelly Clarkson." Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey through What If Deku Was Songwriter. I hope you found it as intriguing and thought-provoking as we did. A big shout out to BlueLove22 for crafting such a compelling story. Don't forget to check out their profile on fanfiction.net for more amazing works. The link is in the description below. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to Deku Fanfics for more fascinating explorations into the world of fanfiction and fantasy. Your support helps us create more content like this, and we're always excited to hear your thoughts and suggestions in the comments section. See you guys in the next video.